divine and mysterious immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Disdain. A month passed in a flash. Ding. Number 7 Talisman Drawing Room. Puff. A talisman skin was once again turned into nothing. Wei Hong put down the talisman pen in his hand with some annoyance and sighed softly. This phenomenon just now was not the first time. He had wasted several talisman skins in a row. Wei Hong pinched his eyebrows helplessly and murmured to himself, failed again. The success rate is only 25%, which is too low. From afternoon to evening, he used a total of 2 portions of spiritual ink and 20 talisman skins. Because each talisman drawing requires some spiritual energy, Wei Hong's speed of drawing talismans is not fast. He is only at the first level of key training now, and the spiritual energy in his body is very limited. He has to meditate to restore his spiritual energy every few times he draws, and he can't draw more. The most important thing is that after consuming 2 portions of spiritual ink and the materials of 20 talisman skins, he only got 5 finished talismans. And the quality of those 5 talismans is very average, and there is no fine product. In this way, it means that Wei Hong only has a 25% success rate every 10 times he draws talismans. Such a success rate is naturally not high, so Wei Hong himself is not satisfied. If he can max out the talisman drawing skill and the 3 talisman skills, the success rate will certainly be increased several times. Unfortunately, he has no extra vitality to squander now, so he can only grit his teeth and practice by himself. The realm of the water shield talisman is still too low, resulting in a low success rate. Wei Hong secretly reflected in his heart. With such a success rate, it is no problem to complete basic tasks, but it is more difficult to get more commissions. He shook his head with a bitter smile and was about to leave the talisman drawing room. Beep. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Wei Hong was slightly startled, but he opened the door without hesitation. "Friend Lu, it's you, please come in." After Wei Hong opened the door, he found that it was his neighbor Lu Fang who knocked on the door, so he showed a welcoming smile. Lu Fang smiled and explained, "Haha, don't blame me, friend Wei, I saw that the time is almost up, and I want to call you to finish work together." After that, he walked into Wei Hong's talisman drawing room. "Huh? Fellow Taoist Wei, are you still drawing talismans? You are really diligent." After entering the talisman drawing room, L.V. Fang saw the jade table where Wei Hong was drawing talismans. He saw traces of the talisman skin being burned on the table, and the talisman pen was not put back in place. So he guessed that Wei Hong should be drawing talismans. "Fellow Taoist Lu, thank you for your compliment. Please wait a moment. I will finish my work with you after I clean up." Wei Hong smiled politely and prepared to clean up the table. However, L.V. Fang's eyes suddenly moved slightly, and he immediately saw the 5 finished talismans on the other side. He immediately asked casually, "Fellow Taoist Wei, are those talismans the finished products you just drew? Can I see them?" It seemed casual, but L.V. Fang's eyes were fixed on the talismans on the table. Wei Hong naturally couldn't refuse, so he took the water shield talismans and handed them to L.V. Fang. "It is indeed the finished product I drew today. It is my honor to ask fellow Taoist Lu for some advice," Wei Hong said politely. "Hey, I don't deserve your advice." Lu Fang seemed to be modest on the surface, but in fact, after taking the talismans and checking them, he said somewhat impolitely, "But brother Wei, your water shield talismans are a bit average, just barely passable." After saying that, he put down the water shield talismans directly. Obviously, he looked down on the talismans of average quality drawn by Wei Hong. Wei Hong frowned, but he could only say, "That's true. I'm a newcomer, how can I compare with brother Lu?" "Haha, that's right." Lu Fang's face flashed a trace of complacency, and then asked, "I wonder how much spiritual ink and talisman skin did brother Wei use in the afternoon?" 2 portions of spiritual ink and 20 talisman skins. Wei Hong did not hide it. "Ah. It took 2 portions of spiritual ink and 20 talisman skins to draw 5 finished talismans." Lu Fang subconsciously curled his lips when he heard this, and a trace of contempt appeared in his eyes, but he immediately hid it well. Obviously, the 25% success rate seemed to make L.V. Fang feel quite disdainful. He seemed to realize that his words were a bit hurtful, so he deliberately comforted him. Haha, fellow Taoist Wei, you are new here, and a 25% success rate is not bad. Take your time, take your time. Although he said so, LV Fang's expression just now explained everything. Wei Hong first glanced at him lightly, then smiled bitterly and said, I'm sorry to make you laugh, fellow Taoist Lu, I can't compare with you. I'm not embarrassed. LV Fang waved his hand indifferently, then pointed to the talisman on the table and said, actually, your water shield talisman is not bad. Although the brushwork is a little immature and the experience is not enough, it's still acceptable overall. Just work harder in the future. Haha, fellow Taoist Lu is right. Wei Hong pulled the corner of his mouth. It's just... LV Fang deliberately showed that he wanted to say something but couldn't say it. Just what? Seeing this, Wei Hong had to follow his tone and ask, but fellow Taoist Wei, your success rate is less than 30%. The workshop is actually losing money. You have to improve your skills as soon as possible. LV Fang said earnestly. Losing money? Impossible. Wei Hong's face was full of doubt. Hey, fellow Taoist Wei, it's normal that you don't know these things when you first come here. LV Fang wanted to show all his knowledge in the talisman workshop at this time, and explain proudly, you should know that the cost price of the two materials, the talisman skin and the spiritual ink, required for each talisman is 30 broken spirits, and a first-level low-grade water shield talisman is only sold for 1 spiritual stone. If there is no success rate of more than 30%, how can the workshop make a profit? Fellow Taoist Wei, you only have a success rate of 25% now. You need to improve it. At least you have to reach more than 40% before the workshop will be satisfied, otherwise you will have to pack up and leave sooner or later. So that's it. Wei Hong nodded thoughtfully. He really didn't know this information before. But LV Fang's last sentence was right. From the perspective of the talisman workshop, he must improve the success rate as soon as possible to achieve a long-term solution. However, LV Fang seemed to be getting more and more addicted to talking. He didn't even wait for Wei Hong to ask him any more before he boasted, Hey, fellow Taoist Wei, do you know what my success rate is? Not much, just 50%. He said not much, but in fact, his proud mouth was almost grinning behind his ears. 25% and 50%, a direct difference of more than double. No wonder LV Fang was so dismissive when he found out that Wei Hong's success rate in drawing talismans was only 25%. In comparison, Wei Hong's success rate in drawing talismans was indeed far behind. Wei Hong also admitted this point. He immediately followed LV Fang's words and praised him, Fellow Taoist, LV is really amazing. I admire you. Chapter 352, Embezzlement. Wei Hong's compliments seemed to hit the spot right on Lu Fang's mind. He had naturally seen that Lu Fang was deliberately showing off. But in order to hear more information from Lu Fang, Wei Hong had to temporarily endure his boasting and compliment him against his will. Sure enough, after receiving the compliment, Lu Fang immediately laughed triumphantly. No, there are many people who are better than me in this talisman painting workshop. My work is nothing, haha. It's nothing? Then I have a success rate of only 25%. Wouldn't I be ashamed to see people? Wei Hong smiled bitterly. Well, that's not the case. The success rate can be improved. As long as you work harder, fellow Taoist Wei, you can study harder. Lu Fang warned Wei Hong in the tone of a senior who had experienced it. This attitude seemed to make him quite enjoyable and immersed in it. And Wei Hong asked at the right time, Fellow Taoist Lu, since you can achieve a 50% success rate, wouldn't you be able to get a very high salary every month? Wages? What's the salary? Upon hearing this, Lu Fang sneered with disdain on his face. Fellow Taoist Wei, the way we talisman painting apprentices really want to earn spirit stones is not to rely on the wages paid by the workshop. Wei Hong's eyes lit up. Oh? If not wages, then what can we rely on? Since you have become a part of the talisman painting workshop, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Lu Fang glanced at Wei Hong with a little complacency, and then whispered, after completing the basic tasks every month, we generally hand in a batch of extra talismans to get more commissions. Then we will keep a batch for ourselves. The reason we can earn more spirit stones is because of this batch of talismans we keep for ourselves. I think fellow Taoist Wei understands what I mean. After that, Lu Fang looked at Wei Hong with a meaningful smile. After listening to this, Wei Hong understood and said, I understand. Haha, Thank you for your guidance, fellow Taoist LV. How could he not understand such a straightforward reminder? It was nothing more than using the convenient conditions provided by the Talisman Workshop to help himself obtain spiritual stones faster. Hand in a batch and intercept a batch to enrich himself. This way, he could give an explanation to the higher-ups and gain greater benefits. It seems that this is the unspoken rule that everyone in the Talisman Workshop tacitly accepts. I have gained a lot. It is worth my patience to flatter him for so long. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart. At this time, LV Fang cast a look at Wei Hong. Fellow Taoist Wei, you don't need to be polite. It's enough for you and me to know this matter. Don't spread it to others. Of course. Wei Hong hurriedly assured, fellow Taoist LV, don't worry, I know what to do. That's good, let's go, let's finish work together. Haha, let's go, let's go. Wei Hong was too lazy to pack up, and he finished work with LV Fang and left the Talisman Workshop. A month passed in a flash. During this month, Wei Hong has been living a regular life. From the wooden house in the forest to the Talisman Workshop and then to the market, it was like this almost every day. From morning to evening, he has been working hard to draw talismans in the Talisman Workshop. Since he chose to focus on the Water Shield Talisman in the early stage, he basically drew the Water Shield Talisman. However, he occasionally tried to draw the Wood Thorn Talisman and the Cleaning Talisman, in order to use the free materials to improve the realm of those two talisman methods. After Lu Fang's guidance, Wei Hong also began to keep a careful eye. With the help of the free materials provided by the Talisman Workshop, his attainments in the Water Shield Talisman method began to become more and more proficient. Although there is no Vitality Point addition, relying on a lot of practice to draw talismans can still gain a lot of experience. In just 1 month, Wei Hong's success rate in drawing Water Shield talismans has gradually increased from 25% at the beginning to 40%. From 5 or 6 pieces a day to 11 or 12 pieces a day, sometimes as many as 15 pieces. In this way, he could draw at least 360 talismans every month. Apart from the 180 talismans that he had to hand in for the basic task, he handed in 150 more of the remaining 180 talismans. The remaining 30 Water Shield talismans were intercepted by him and regarded as his personal assets. No wonder talisman drawing apprentices like Lu Fang, who use the Class D talisman drawing room, have such a comfortable life. It turns out that the secret lies here. Looking at the Water Shield talismans that he had intercepted, Wei Hong seemed quite emotional. He finally understood why the talisman drawing apprentices were doing so well. Relying on free resources to practice skills, they can also pocket a large amount of talismans every month. If they can't do well like this, how can other casual cultivators do well? Therefore, Wei Hong felt that his choice this time was extremely wise and satisfied. Under such circumstances, he has always maintained his friendship with Lu Fang. Not only Lu Fang, he also began to get acquainted with several talisman drawing apprentices in the same independent courtyard. They occasionally exchanged some information with each other, which was considered as sharing what they had. After all, they were all apprentices of the Talisman Painting Workshop, and they would see each other every day. There were a total of 6 talisman painting apprentices in their independent courtyard, and all of them used Class D talisman painting rooms. It seems that if you want to use a higher level talisman painting room, it is not enough to just improve your proficiency. It should be related to your cultivation and the grade of the talisman master. Wei Hong was also secretly guessing about this issue. Because from what he had heard, the minimum level of cultivation to use a Class C talisman painting room was the 4th level of key training, or the talisman master's grade had reached the 1st level middle grade. Wei Hong was no longer a novice in cultivating immortals who knew nothing. At least he knew very well that the grade of a talisman master was directly linked to the cultivation. Just like he was only at the 1st level of key training now, it was absolutely impossible for him to refine a 1st level middle grade talisman. Only after the cultivation reached the middle stage of key training, the talisman master's grade could be upgraded to the 1st level middle grade. Of course, cultivation cannot directly represent the talisman master's grade. For example, if Wei Hong was promoted to the 3rd level of key training, but he couldn't draw 1st level middle grade talisman, then he was not considered a 1st level middle grade talisman master. After all, the more you advance in the art of talismans, the more talent you need. However, Wei Hong didn't need to consider these things at this stage. He just needed to work hard to draw talismans. Continue to draw talismans to save money, and try to change my main training method as soon as possible. Wei Hong's thoughts became more and more determined. For the development in the short term, he has always had a clear plan. It can be said that after becoming a talisman drawing apprentice, he is one step closer to his goal. Save for another month, and sell talismans next month. Full of hope, he once again devoted himself to drawing talismans. Chapter 353 Setting up a stall, selling well. 1 month later on this day, Wei Hong finished work at the talisman painting workshop early and brought with him the talismans he had accumulated for 2 months. Then he quietly changed his appearance and went directly to the market to set up a stall to sell talismans. After arriving at the market, he found a random location and started to set up a stall. A clean animal skin was directly spread on the ground, and a small wooden stool was placed behind the animal skin. After Wei Hong sat down on the stool, he took out 3 stacks of talismans from his arms and neatly placed them on the animal skin in different categories. They were 60 water shield talismans, and the remaining 10 were half cleaning talismans and half wood thorn talismans. Obviously, Wei Hong still tried to draw the other 2 talismans during these 2 months. However, the success rate was very low, and it took 2 months to get 5 finished talismans each. After simply setting up the stall, Wei Hong sat on the stool and closed his eyes to rest. For a hot-selling product like talismans, he didn't worry about not being able to sell them. Sure enough, in less than an instant stick of time, people came to ask for prices. "Dao, how much do you sell this water shield talisman for?" A thin old man stopped in front of Wei Hong's stall and asked with a little interest. Wei Hong opened his eyes and replied calmly, "1 spirit stone per piece, and a large amount of 90 broken spirits per piece. This is the market price of a first-level low-grade talisman. Of course, sometimes this price will fluctuate depending on the type of talisman. Wei Hong is now selling a more popular defensive talisman, so naturally it won't be too low." The thin old man is obviously also knowledgeable. He just nodded but didn't speak immediately. Instead, he squatted down and picked up a water shield talisman to take a closer look, and then pointed to the wooden thorn talisman next to it and asked, "How much do these wooden thorn talismans sell for?" "They are all first-level low-grade talismans, all 1 spirit stone per piece." Wei Hong replied again. "There is no problem with the quality." The thin old man looked at the water shield talisman in his hand, then shook his head slightly and said, "It's just not top-notch. It should be drawn by fellow Taoist yourself, right?" Obviously, the thin old man saw Wei Hong's cultivation at a glance. At the same time, based on the quality of the water shield talisman, he guessed that the maker should be Wei Hong. "Fellow Taoist, you have good eyesight." Wei Hong looked at him indifferently, then nodded, "It is indeed drawn by myself. The quality of these water shield talismans is absolutely no problem. Fellow Taoist, you can use them with confidence." "Haha, that's true, but can the price be cheaper?" The thin old man rolled his eyes and wanted to start bargaining. Although the market price of a first-level low-grade talisman is 1 spirit stone, the market price does not represent the final transaction price. As the saying goes, ask for a high price, and pay it back. Whether the price can be lowered depends on the buyer's own ability. Wei Hong naturally expected that someone would bargain, so he replied, "If you buy a lot, I will give you 6 pieces for 5 spirit stones. If you buy less, there is no way." "How much is a lot?" The old man was curious. "More than 10 pieces, this is the lowest price. You probably won't find a lower price than mine in the whole market." Wei Hong said the price he had thought of a long time ago. He also understood that 1 spirit stone per piece was indeed the market price. But these are all his own works. No matter the quality or power, they cannot be compared with the real talisman painters. There is no competitiveness in the market. The only way to sell them is to reduce the price. Anyway, these talismans are all deducted from the usual cost, and the cost is almost 0. A lower price is acceptable. "Oh? In that case, then give me 12 water shield talismans." The thin old man's eyes lit up when he heard the price, and he immediately decided to make a move. "Okay, here are 12 water shield talismans. Please take them, and you can come to me if you need them." Wei Hong saw that the first deal had been concluded, and he also laughed. Then he counted out 12 water shield talismans and handed them to the old man, and at the same time he did not forget to advertise himself. "If I come to you, will I sell them at this price in the future?" the thin old man asked tentatively. "Yes, as long as you buy more than 10, all of them will be counted as 6 for 5 spirit stones." Wei Hong also nodded without hesitation. Haha, okay, fellow Taoist is straightforward, I will come to you next time. The thin old man smiled with satisfaction, and turned away after the money and goods were settled with Wei Hong. Wei Hong immediately put away the 10 spirit stones, and then prepared to close his eyes and rest. But at this time, a young female cultivator came over. Fellow Taoist, how much do you sell these talismans for? A crisp voice sounded. The young female cultivator stood in front of the stall and looked down at Wei Hong. This person was wearing a brand new aqua blue robe and a pair of white short boots. 3 jade pendants of different shapes were tied around her waist, her hair was simply tied up with a white jade hairpin, and she was wearing a thin veil on her face to cover her face. Seeing the female cultivator's posture, Wei Hong instinctively frowned. The next moment he relaxed, and then replied lightly, Wood Thorn Talisman and Water Shield Talisman are 1 spirit stone each, and Cleansing Talisman is 1 spirit stone for 3 pieces. Which one do you want? How many do you need? Did the Taoist just buy 6 pieces for 5 spirit stones? The young female cultivator seemed to have heard the price Wei Hong sold to the thin old man. That's the price for buying more than 10 pieces. Wei Hong raised his head and glanced at her lightly, and said, If Taoist fellow buys more, I can naturally give you a lower price. The young female cultivator didn't seem to have any intention of bending down or squatting. She put her hands behind her back and immediately laughed when she heard the price Wei Hong offered. Then, I want 18 water shield talismans. Hey, this is 15 spiritual stones, you can keep it. It seems that because she bought the water shield talisman at a low price, the young female cultivator showed a bit of eccentricity at the right time. Wei Hong didn't care about that. He immediately took the spiritual stones with a smile. Okay, Taoist friend, wait a moment, I will get it for you right away. He immediately counted out 18 water shield talismans, then stood up and handed them to the young female cultivator. Thank you. The young female cultivator took the talisman and thanked her softly, then left gracefully. Wei Hong sat down again with a little satisfaction. I sold most of it in a short time. It seems that I don't need to display it for too long today. Wei Hong, who got 25 spiritual stones in a short time, seemed to be in a very good mood. He didn't expect that he would successfully open up the market after only displaying it for a while. Wei Hong believed that the remaining dozens of talismans should be sold out in a short time. Chapter 354, Treasure Pavilion, Testing Spiritual Roots. The fact was just as Wei Hong expected. In less than an hour, he sold all the remaining dozens of talismans. The reason why they were so easy to sell was not only because his talismans were good quality and cheap, but also because defensive talismans were hot-selling products and could be sold quickly without shouting. As for the 5 cleaning talismans and 5 wood thorn talismans, he also sold them at a discount. In this way, Wei Hong earned 56 spirit stones and made a small profit. Although the transaction price was slightly lower than the market price, he was very satisfied. Haha, not bad. I have saved up for 2 months and secretly sold 56 spirit stones. If I add the wages of the previous 2 months, my savings will be quite a lot. Finally, I can breathe a sigh of relief. Wei Hong secretly calculated his gains in his heart, and the more he thought about it, the happier he was. In the past 2 months, in addition to completing the basic tasks, he also handed in 150 more talismans every month. In this way, he handed in 300 more talismans in 2 months, and he earned 30 spirit stones just by taking them out. Adding the monthly salary of 10 lingxi, the lingxi he accumulated directly broke through to 105. Compared with the previous difficult situation, it can be said that he has made great changes and progress. However, if an ordinary person is in the same situation as him, he will definitely not be able to earn so many lingxi in 2 months. If Wei Hong did not have the golden finger blessing of the system, he would probably still be struggling on the line of food and clothing, so he dare not be proud at all. Now that I have lingxi, it's time to buy some good things. Wei Hong thought secretly. This time, he has accumulated hundreds of lingxi, so he naturally wants to buy some things that he wanted to buy but couldn't afford before. For example, the main practice method, and new talisman pens and spells, etc. These things are what Wei Hong wants. He accumulates lingxi not for the sake of saving money, but to make himself stronger in his cultivation higher. Only by spending lingxi and converting them into useful resources can we really make money. Thinking of this, Wei Hong closed his stall and went straight to the treasure pavilion in the market. This is the largest Chamber of Commerce store in Qinghai Anfang City. It has many items such as skills, spells, and magic tools. It can be said that it is of good quality and low price with a complete variety. In the past, Wei Hong did not dare to set foot in with an empty pocket, but today he can go in and take a look. After a while, he came to the door of the treasure pavilion. As far as he knows, this treasure pavilion is not the private property of King Ainman, but comes from another force that is far larger than King Ainman. Its name is Helian Shengman, and its business scope spans several dynasties. Almost every region or market has their business. In terms of heritage and strength alone, King Ainman cannot compare with Helian Shengman. The treasure pavilion, standing in the central area of the market, is a magnificent and solemn building, like a shining pearl. Its exterior adopts the traditional ancient architectural style, with flying eaves and brackets, carved beams and painted buildings, showing its grandeur. Moreover, the whole treasure pavilion is dominated by golden color, giving people a sense of dignity and luxury. The walls are inlaid with exquisite carved doors and windows, and an exquisite lantern is hung on each of the 8 eaves. In addition, there is a pair of huge stone lions in front of the gate of the treasure pavilion, and a plaque is hung above the gate. The plaque is inscribed with 3 large gold-plated characters Treasure Pavilion, with vigorous and magnificent strokes. Just looking at the appearance, you can tell that this treasure pavilion is definitely not simple. At this time, there were not many monks entering and leaving the treasure pavilion. Wei Hong took a look and walked in. After entering the treasure pavilion, the first thing that caught my eye was a spacious and bright hall. People came and went in the hall, and many guests were received by the maids or servants of the treasure pavilion as soon as they came in. There were transparent and sturdy counters around the hall, and various kinds of goods were placed inside the counters. Magical instruments, elixirs, spiritual materials, exercises, secret techniques, talismans. The goods are so complete that basically everything that the guests can think of can be bought here. Wei Hong, who came in for the first time, was also a little shocked, and then he became worried unconsciously. He was worried that his few spirit stones would not be enough to buy what he wanted. At this time, a handsome servant came over and greeted him with a warm smile. "Sir, please come in. Do you want to buy or sell something?" Needless to say, the hospitality of the treasure pavilion is impeccable. Even if Wei Hong was just a casual cultivator at the first level of key training, the maids and servants who were responsible for entertaining guests would not show any contempt. Buying things. Wei Hong nodded slightly, and then answered, "I want to buy a suitable martial arts method for myself. I wonder if you have any here." "Yes, yes." The servant enthusiastically led Wei Hong to the martial arts counter and said with a smile, "Don't worry, sir. Our treasure pavilion has a very complete range of martial arts. You can definitely find a martial arts method that suits you. By the way, I wonder what type of martial arts method you are looking for. I can recommend 1 or 2 to you." "Well, I haven't thought about the specific type of martial arts, so let's take a look first." The servant's question was a bit difficult for Wei Hong, so he didn't give a specific answer. In fact, he himself didn't know what type of martial arts method to choose. In addition to the 5 elements key training formula, he had not come into contact with many martial arts methods. It can be said that he knows very little about martial arts. Perhaps after reading the specific martial arts, he should be able to choose what he wants after comparing them. The servant next to him asked enthusiastically, "What kind of skills do you want to buy? I'll find a few to see if they are suitable." "What kind?" "To be honest, I don't know what kind of skills I want." Wei Hong smiled bitterly. "Ah. Have you never tested your spiritual root attributes?" The young servant understood immediately. Obviously, he had seen that Wei Hong, like many casual cultivators, had never tested his spiritual root attributes. This kind of thing is not uncommon, and it is not a shameful thing. Wei Hong nodded and said, "I have never tested it." "That's not a problem." The young servant recommended with a smile, "If you don't mind, we can help you test it for free. Your treasure pavilion also provides free spiritual root testing services." Wei Hong was a little surprised. Of course, after all, only after knowing your spiritual root attributes can you buy skills and spells in a targeted manner. Therefore, our treasure pavilion can provide free spiritual root testing services. "Do you need it?" The young servant explained. "Okay, then test it first." Wei Hong agreed decisively. Since there was such a good thing as a free spiritual root test, how could he miss it? He had wanted to test his spiritual root attributes for a long time, but his pockets were empty, so he had never been able to do so. Now that he could test it for free, he naturally agreed happily. Chapter 355, 4 Spiritual Roots, King Muju. Please follow me, guest. Let's go test your spiritual roots first. Seeing Wei Hong agreed, the young servant led him to another direction. The young servant led Wei Hong through the hall and came to a small room closed on all sides. Without any hesitation, the young servant pushed open the door and walked in. Wei Hong naturally followed him. After entering, the young servant gently closed the door. Please look, guest, this is the test stone. You just need to stand in front of the test stone and wait quietly for a while. After entering the room, the young servant immediately introduced it to Wei Hong. The test stone he pointed to was placed in the center of the room. It looked like a piece of jade, standing on the floor in an oval shape. The surface was slightly rough, while the side facing them was as smooth as a mirror. There was also a black stone slab in front of this test stone. Wei Hong couldn't see what it was for the time being. But he didn't hesitate and stood directly on the black stone slab, according to the instructions of the young servant. The next moment, Wei Hong felt a slight fluctuation flash by. At this time, the young servant next to him explained, Guest, don't worry. This is a test magic weapon specially made by our treasure pavilion master for testing spiritual roots. It will never go wrong. So that's how it is. Wei Hong just nodded gently. Soon, the mirror-like magic weapon in front of Wei Hong directly glowed. The 4 colors of gold, green, blue and yellow intertwined and flashed, appearing very clear. Among these 4 colors of light, the green light is the strongest and most prominent, much brighter than the other 3 colors. Seeing these 4 colors of light, Wei Hong immediately had a guess in his heart. Sure enough, the young servant smiled and explained to Wei Hong, the test results are out. You are a spiritual root of the 4 elements of gold, wood, water and earth. Compared with the spiritual roots of the other 3 attributes, the wood attribute spiritual root is the most prominent. Therefore, I suggest that you consider buying a wood attribute exercise, so that you can get twice the result with half the effort when practicing. It's actually a 4 attribute spiritual root. Looking at the 4 color light flashing in front of him, Wei Hong whispered softly inside in his heart. Although he had fantasies before the test, this result still brought him back to reality. As early as when he first practiced a 5 elements key training technique, Wei Hong actually had guesses about his talent and spiritual root attributes. But he never thought that he would have 4 spiritual roots. You should know that in the world of cultivating immortals, 4 attribute spiritual roots are also called mixed spiritual roots, which are basically the worst spiritual roots. Compared with those geniuses with single or double spiritual roots, Wei Hong's 4 attribute spiritual roots are extremely ordinary. This is why he felt like a turtle crawling when practicing the 5 elements key training technique. Because the 4 attribute spiritual roots absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth very slowly, it takes a lot of resources and time to improve the realm. Fortunately, Wei Hong calmed down after just a little sigh. He looked at the young servant. Okay, then help me find a few wood attribute exercises. I'll take a look first. Since the spiritual root attributes have been tested, he can choose the corresponding exercises. And he also decided to follow the advice of the young servant and choose to practice the wood attribute exercises. Okay, sir, please come this way. I'll take you to see the exercises. The young servant smiled and led the way. They soon returned to the hall and came to a counter on the left. Please wait a moment. The young servant first apologized to Wei Hong, then took out his identity token and opened the door between the counters. When he came behind the counter, the young servant opened the counter and took out 3 exercises from it. Please look, sir. These 3 are all wood attributed techniques. The young servant placed the 3 techniques on the counter and began to introduce them to Wei Hong. This technique is called King Muju, which is a top-grade yellow level technique. It has a good training speed, average fighting ability, and is good at hiding. This technique is called Chong Chunguang, which is a middle-grade yellow level technique. Although this technique is not fast to practice, it is good at warming the body. It can not only increase lifespan, but also has a wonderful effect when recovering from injuries. The last technique is called Mu Yuanju, which is also a middle-grade yellow level technique. This technique has a relatively outstanding effect in healing the soul, and its fighting ability is also good. Sir, you can take a look first. The young servants briefly introduced the 3 techniques. Wei Hong nodded and picked up the King Muju and started reading it. He found that all the techniques displayed in the treasure pavilion only had simple introductions and matching spell names, and no substantial content. It's normal to think about it. How could they open the genuine content to him when he hasn't paid yet? Wei Hong flipped through it casually and found that this King Muju is a method of cultivating pure wood attributes. It should be quite powerful among the same level of methods. After reading King Muju, he looked at the other two methods. The other two methods are slightly different in characteristics. Compared with King Muju, they can be said to have their own characteristics. Which one should I choose? Wei Hong pondered for a moment. They are all common methods that have been passed down for thousands of years. Although they are not as powerful as the inheritance of the immortal sects, they are complete and correct. As long as you buy one, you don't have to worry about the methods in the short term. The young servant seemed to see Wei Hong's dilemma, and he immediately recommended with a smile, "Sir, if you don't know which one to choose, then I suggest you choose this King Muju. This King Muju cultivates extremely pure wood attributed spiritual energy, which is not only in line with your spiritual roots, but also has a peaceful spiritual power that is not easy to go astray. The power after you practice it will definitely be not small. You also know that this is a top-grade yellow level technique. Although it is not as good as the inheritance of the immortal gate, it is not comparable to ordinary goods. As long as you buy this technique, your practice during the key refining period will be smooth sailing." The young servant began to show his eloquence at this time, and he praised Wei Hong, directly blowing some of the characteristics of the King Muju into advantages, as if he would regret it if he didn't buy it. Wei Hong looked at him with amusement and asked directly, "How much is this King Muju?" "Not expensive, the whole book only costs 300 spirit stones, would you like to buy one?" The young servant said with a smile, a price that Wei Hong could not reach at the moment. At the same time, he looked at Wei Hong expectantly, hoping that he would buy it immediately. However, Wei Hong replied expressionlessly, "It's too expensive, I can't afford it." Chapter 356, A Complete Makeover. A yellow-grade upper-grade key refining technique requires 300 spirit stones. This surprised Wei Hong. After all, it was only a yellow-grade technique. Although it was much stronger than the 5 elements key refining technique, it shouldn't be so exaggerated, right? Although he really wanted it, the spirit stones in his pocket forced him to face reality. Seeing Wei Hong shaking his head and refusing, the young servant smiled and said, "Don't worry, sir. If you are a little tight on money at the moment, then I recommend you to buy the first 3 levels of key refining technique first. Our techniques can not only be sold in full, but also separately. The first 3 levels of key refining technique only require 30 spirit stones. Would you consider it?" The young servant seemed to be very familiar with casual cultivators like Wei Hong, and also understood their predicament and embarrassment. So he hit the nail on the head as soon as he opened his mouth, making people have to accept his suggestion. "Can it be sold separately? Really?" Wei Hong's eyes lit up, and his face became much more relaxed. "Of course it's true. We at Treasure Pavilion are absolutely honest and trustworthy. You can rest assured. If we find any mistakes or omissions in the exercises, we will compensate you tenfold. We can't joke with the reputation of Treasure Pavilion, right?" Seeing Wei Hong was tempted, the young servant hurriedly spoke up to assure him. "Well, that's true." Wei Hong nodded in approval, and suddenly asked, "What's the price of the 3rd level of key refining?" Since this King Muju can be sold separately, he naturally wants to know the price of the next level of exercises. "It's not expensive. The price of the exercises from the 4th to the 6th level of key refining is 50 spirit stones per level, and the price of the exercises from the 7th to the 9th level of key refining is 60 spirit stones per level." The young servant gave the price very skillfully. Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly smack his lips after hearing this. Wow! Buying separately seems cheap in the early stage, but it's frighteningly expensive in the later stage. In total, a set of exercises costs as much as 360 spirit stones. Isn't this a ripoff? But it's no wonder that the Treasure Pavilion is so shrewd. Most of the people who buy this kind of common skills are casual cultivators. They certainly can't afford too many spirit stones in the early stage. But when they practice this skill and become stronger, they will naturally continue to pay. They can't change to another skill halfway, right? Moreover, after the cultivators reach the middle and late stages of key training, their income increases, so dozens or hundreds of spirit stones are nothing. Wei Hong understood what was going on, So he no longer hesitated. Okay, then I'll buy the skills for the first 3 levels of the key refining stage. Okay, please wait a moment, sir. I'll ask someone to prepare them for you right away. The young servant agreed happily, and then asked, I wonder if there's anything else you need. Really? Wei Hong was naturally not going to be polite, and immediately said, I want to buy a few matching first-grade low-grade wood spells, and I'd also like to take a look at the breath-containing technique. By the way, do you have any ghost-controlling technique? If you do, bring it over to have a look. No problem, we have everything you want. The young servant suggested with a smile. However, the first 3 levels of the King Muju skills come with a matching wood thorn technique and a wooden wall technique. They are enough to meet your needs for attack and defense. This pavilion does not recommend that you buy additional spells. After all, you can't eat more than you can chew. As for the first-grade low-grade breath-containing technique, it costs 25 spirit stones, and an ordinary ghost-controlling technique costs 32 spirit stones. I'll get it for you right away. Soon, everything Wei Hong wanted was placed in front of him. A jade slip recorded the first 3 levels of King Muju, as well as the matching wood thorn technique and wood wall technique. A jade slip recorded a first-level low-grade ordinary breath-retaining technique, and another recorded a real ghost-controlling technique. They cost a total of 87 spirit stones, which emptied Wei Hong's pockets in an instant. This treasure pavilion is really not for ordinary people to come to. Looking at the skills and spells he bought, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. But thinking about how they can enhance strength, it still feels worth it. In the wooden house in the forest, at night, Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the bed, maintaining a posture of cultivation. Next to him was the King Muju skill placed casually, which had obviously been read by him. Sit cross-legged to calm your mind, relax and be natural. Close your lips and teeth lightly, breathe slowly. Gather the divine light and reach the heart of the sky. Refine the ki into the meridians and descend to the ki points. The ki flows through the meridians, and the self-cultivation is complete. Circulate the ki, and the body will be smooth and integrated. The ki returns to the danshan, and the practice is complete. Wei Hong closed his eyes and silently recited the practice formula of King Muju in his heart. At the same time, the spiritual energy in his body from the practice of the 5 elements ki training formula began to circulate with the formula. Obviously, Wei Hong was switching to the practice of King Muju. He had long been eager to find a better main practice method. Now that he had obtained King Muju, he naturally had to complete the practice of the method as soon as possible. As Wei Hong continued to recite the practice formula, the spiritual energy in his body began to circulate continuously according to the practice route of King Muju. Over and over again. After one cycle of ki, the next cycle of ki began. Gradually, the spiritual energy in Wei Hong's body not only grew a little stronger, but also turned into light blue spiritual energy. This means that the original 5 elements ki training Ju has been replaced by the current King Muju. The light blue aura is the most obvious sign of the wood attribute. Since the 5 elements ki training Ju itself is the most basic entry-level practice, and it is a mixed attribute practice. Therefore, when Wei Hong switched to practicing King Muju, he was able to perfectly integrate into it and transform all the traces of the original practice without causing any hindrance. 2 hours later, Wei Hong slowly opened his eyes. It is worthy of being a top-grade yellow-level practice. The speed of practice is indeed much faster than the 5 elements ki training Ju. Feeling the speed of the spiritual energy in his body, Wei Hong was immediately delighted. After switching to practicing King Muju, he could clearly feel that his practice speed had accelerated a lot, and he exuded a sense of vitality all over his body, and he seemed to have some close connection with the flowers, plants and trees around him. This is obviously the benefit brought by the practice of King Muju. At the same time, the light blue aura in his body has also grown a circle compared to before, and the effect is enough to equal his previous month of practice. Temporarily suppressing the joy in his heart, Wei Hong took out 3 more spells. After just a little practice, the system sent a prompt. Ling. The first level inferior spell Wood Thorn spell was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100, Ling. The first level inferior spell Wood Wall spell was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100, Ling. The first level inferior spell Breath Containment spell was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100, Ling. The first level inferior spell Ghost Controlling spell was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/500, 4 spells were successfully recorded by the system. At this point, Wei Hong officially completed the conversion of his main practice. It's worth it that I emptied my family's wealth to buy you. Feeling the increase in spiritual energy in his body, Wei Hong exhaled lightly. Compared with before, his strength has increased a lot, and his practice speed has also increased several times. Wei Hong couldn't help feeling a little emotional, thinking that he had spent all the spirit stones accumulated in 2 months, but it was worth it. Converting spirit stones into one's own strength is Wei Hong's ultimate goal of making money. Chapter 357 The Ghost Boy recognized his master. Just the entry level requires 500 points of proficiency. Looking at the proficiency of the ghost control technique, Wei Hong fell into deep thought. He didn't expect that the ghost control technique was so difficult to master. The proficiency required was directly 5 times that of the other 3 spells. It seems that this spell is more profound than ordinary spells. He is already quite short of vitality points, and it seems a bit unrealistic to want to improve the realm of ghost control in a short period of time. Forget it, it's just to recognize them as masters again. Even if it's just the entry level, it should be enough. Wei Hong carefully waited in his heart. Thinking of this, he began to carefully sense the breath of the 9 ghost children sleeping in the locust tree puppet. After a while, Wei Hong's face became more and more solemn. Because he found that the breath of the 9 ghost children was stronger than before, and at the same time, he also felt a sense of crisis. The reason why he wanted to buy the real ghost control technique was because of the 9 ghost children. After the 9 ghost children raised by Wei Hong devoured the netherworld spiritual flower and Chen Jianin, they fell into deep sleep and have not awakened to this day. However, although these 9 ghost children who have been in a deep sleep have not awakened, the aura they exude has become stronger and stronger. As of today, the powerful aura has even made Wei Hong feel quite frightened. He understands that this is clearly the power of the 9 ghost children evolving and strengthening. And it is certain that when they wake up, the ghost children will definitely be stronger than him. Wei Hong is worried that they will turn against him after waking up, so he simply bought the ghost control technique and prepared to recognize them as masters and control them. I hope this ghost control technique will not disappoint me. With this idea in mind, Wei Hong began to prepare. Originally, he wanted to wait until he obtained more vitality points and raise the realm of ghost control techniques before preparing to recognize the master. But time waits for no one, and vitality points cannot be obtained for the time being. Therefore, he can only take a little risk and prepare to give it a try. If you want to do it, do it. Wei Hong was extremely decisive. He first took out the 9 locust tree puppets from the storage bag and placed them one by one in front of him. Then he bit his index finger and dripped drops of blood into the 9 locust tree puppets. The 9 locust tree puppets were like bottomless pits, and the blood dripped on the locust tree puppets was instantly absorbed. As the blood continued to drip, each locust tree puppet began to gradually turn red. Soon, the 9 locust tree puppets became blood red, as if they were crying blood. Even their originally wooden appearance became lively, looking extremely strange. Moreover, Wei Hong could clearly sense that after swallowing his blood, the aura of the 9 ghost children in the locust tree puppets became stronger and stronger. He did not dare to neglect it and hurriedly began to pinch the formula and chant the spell. The soul is refined, and the 5 internal organs are prosperous. Hundreds of sweets are injected, and the 7 liquids are filled. 5 heavenly ghosts, the body is destroyed. The spells for controlling ghosts were constantly recited from Wei Hong's mouth. His voice was deep and serious, making the whole wooden house cold. At the same time, the green wood spirit in Wei Hong's body was continuously injected into the 9 locust tree puppets. Use blood as a guide. Use the spell as a lock. Use spirit as a contract. Only when the 3 are combined can ghosts be controlled. Wei Hong controlled the ghost control technique and continuously injected spirit into the locust tree puppets. Gradually, he could clearly sense that a blood connection between the 9 ghost children and him began to become closer and closer. Very good, it really works. Wei Hong was secretly happy. Feeling the increasingly close connection, he knew that he had made the right choice. If it weren't for this ghost control technique, it would definitely not be so easy for him to control the 9 ghost children again. If he lost these 9 ghost children, Wei Hong would be equivalent to losing 9 powerful fighting forces that could serve him. This result was unacceptable to him anyway. Okay, it's almost done, just keep going. Although more than half of the spirit energy in his body was consumed and the blood was not interrupted, Wei Hong was looking forward to it more and more. 3 minutes later, his body shook slightly, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Haha, the preparations are done. Wei Hong laughed, and his tense mind relaxed a little. At this moment, he could sense that the 9 ghost children had become extremely close to him. It was as if he could control the ghost children with just a thought, and let them do all kinds of things for him. Wei Hong knew that this was the effect of the ghost control technique. The preparations for recognizing the master were completely completed. However, just when his mind was slightly relaxed, something strange happened. The 9 ghost children in the locust tree puppets opened their eyes at the same time, and then uttered a whimpering sound like a soul stirring. A cold and strange aura instantly emanated from the 9 locust tree puppets, completely enveloping the entire wooden house. Huh? What's going on? Wei Hong frowned, and a trace of uneasiness flashed through his heart. He originally thought that the ghost children would wake up after recognizing the master, but who knew that at the moment when they were about to complete the recognition of the master, the 9 ghost children had unexpected changes. As expected, the next moment, a huge suction force suddenly appeared inside the 9 locust tree puppets. Caught off guard, Wei Hong's right hand was sucked forward, and the blood dripping from his hand instantly turned from a droplet into a column of blood. Damn it, do you really want to bite me back? Wei Hong's face changed drastically. At this time, a large amount of blood gushed out from his hand, and then was instantly absorbed by the 9 locust tree puppets. The master recognition ceremony that was about to be completed also began to go out of control. Obviously, the worst situation Wei Hong expected happened. The ghost children began to devour the master. They opened their scarlet eyes inside the locust tree puppet and sucked Wei Hong's blood crazily, as if they wanted to squeeze him dry. The 9 suction forces merged into one and became stronger and stronger. In less than 2 breaths, at least a large bowl of blood was sucked away. Wei Hong's face was slightly pale, but he was not panicked despite the shock. He retracted his fingers and suddenly clenched them, then suddenly pulled his hand back a big step, and stopped the spiritual energy infusion at the same time. Although the suction force generated inside the Sephora Japonica puppet was strong, it was not enough to make him unable to resist. However, the 9 ghost children who could not absorb blood became crazy and manic at the same time. Without Wei Hong's control, the 9 ghost children rushed out of the Sephora Japonica puppet with a crazy and bloodthirsty breath. The next moment, the 9 ghost children with changed shapes surrounded Wei Hong in the middle. The terrifying momentum locked him firmly. Who would have thought that from the original preparation to complete the master recognition ceremony to being surrounded by ghost children, it only happened in a short blink of an eye. The situation changed so quickly that even Wei Hong had not expected it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, Shock, Beating, Despair and Fear. Evil beasts, do you really want to die? Wei Hong growled with a gloomy face. Although he had not expected the situation to turn out like this, it did not mean that he had no solution. Woo. Wei Hong secretly urged his mind control. Sure enough, the next moment the 9 ghost children became chaotic. They originally looked like they wanted to devour Wei Hong, waving their claws and fangs in the air. However, under Wei Hong's interference, they wanted to get closer but did not dare to get closer, causing the 9 ghost children's aura to become disordered. The reason for this was that they still maintained a strong mental connection with Wei Hong. Although they wanted to devour Wei Hong, they had to resist Wei Hong's control. Under the confrontation between the two sides, they were temporarily unable to attack Wei Hong. Wei Hong breathed a sigh of relief. Taking this opportunity, he quickly took a look at the appearance of the 9 ghost children. Wei Hong found that the transformed bodies of the 9 ghost children were not only a circle larger than before, but also looked like 8 or 9-year-old boys. Moreover, the aura they exuded was much stronger than his, at least they had reached the 2nd level of key refining. In addition, the faces of the 9 ghost children looked even more ferocious and pale, and their eyes were full of madness and bloodthirstiness. At the same time, the 9 ghost children also grew long fangs and claws, and they looked very difficult to mess with. However, just as Wei Hong was looking at them, the 9 ghost children changed again. Cry. The 9 ghost children screamed together, as if they were extremely angry. Their aura became extremely violent, Not only did their fangs and claws become longer and sharper, but even their bodies were filled with blood red. However, they still did not dare to approach Wei Hong under the shock of the ghost control technique, so the crazy ghost children could only attack from a distance. The 9 ghost children in a violent state opened their bloody mouths and began to suck Wei Hong, who was trapped in the middle. However, Wei Hong did not seem to notice any suction. Just when he was puzzled, he found that the lifespan on his attribute panel was slowly decreasing by 1 year. The reduced lifespan turned into 9 streams of faint green smoke, which were continuously sucked into the mouths of the 9 ghost children. Huh? You can actually absorb lifespan. Wei Hong was slightly surprised at first, and then suddenly felt delighted. He did not expect that the ghost children, whose forms had changed greatly, would have an additional method of absorbing lifespan, which surprised and delighted him. Such a strange method is a great threat even to immortal cultivators. Fortunately, he also found that the speed at which the ghost children absorbed lifespan was not fast, and they absorbed about 1 year of lifespan every 10 breaths. In this way, he was no longer worried. If it were someone else, they might be so desperate that they could do nothing but watch their lifespan being sucked away. But for Wei Hong, there was no need to worry, because his lifespan could be fully replenished by adding points later, and losing decades of lifespan was not a problem at all. What's more, Wei Hong also found that as his lifespan was constantly sucked away by the 9 ghost children, the connection between him and the ghost children became closer and closer again. You like to suck, right? Well, then I'll let you suck as much as you want. Wei Hong smiled coldly. Since sucking the life essence can deepen the close connection between him and the ghost child, he will naturally not stop it. But he will not let the ghost child suck the life essence and do nothing. First, let you taste the power of the ghost control technique. Wei Hong glanced at the 9 ghost children with a cold look on his face. Then he muttered something in his mouth, and the spiritual energy in his body was directly activated according to the formula of the ghost control technique. Go. Wei Hong stretched out his hand and pointed, and 9 spiritual energies fell on the 9 ghost children. Wu. After being infected with this spiritual energy, the 9 ghost children, who were originally aggressive, suddenly wailed together. I saw their bodies trembling slightly, and even the suction in their mouths weakened a little. And as Wei Hong continued to activate the ghost control technique, the bodies of the 9 ghost children trembled more and more. Woo woo woo. The screaming and whimpering sound continued. The intense pain made the ghost children's eyes, which had originally fallen into madness, begin to become a little clearer. Wei Hong's method was exactly the suppression method recorded in the ghost control technique. If there is no corresponding suppression method, how can the ghost control technique control real ghosts? The effect is quite good. Just a small test, the effect made Wei Hong slightly satisfied. As Wei Hong's lifespan was constantly sucked away, the connection between the 9 ghost children and him became closer and closer. And the closer the connection between them, the stronger the effect of Wei Hong's ghost control technique to suppress the ghost children. Under the mutual promotion of the two, even if the 9 ghost children's aura increased greatly and their forms changed greatly, they still could not escape the fate of being suppressed and controlled by Wei Hong. After a while, the figures of the 9 ghost children became slightly blurred due to violent trembling. At the same time, the pain from the depths of their souls made their screams become weaker. At this moment, the ghost children's originally crazy and bloodthirsty eyes were no longer left. At a glance, there was only despair and fear. Woo woo woo. They all looked at Wei Hong with fear on their faces, their eyes full of pleading. Humph, are you scared now? Wei Hong had a sneer on his face. Fortunately, the ghost control technique did not disappoint him, and suppressing the ghost children was just a backhand move. However, Wei Hong did not stop the ghost control technique immediately, but maintained a state of punishment and torture. He wanted to let these 9 ghost children know how powerful he was. This is the price of wanting to devour the master, and if you make a mistake, you must be punished. Wei Hong ignored the screams and pleas of the ghost children, but kept urging the spiritual energy to torture them. After a full stick of incense, he withdrew the spiritual energy. Woo. The moment the pain disappeared, the 9 ghost children couldn't control their bodies and fell from the air. However, before they fell to the ground, they controlled their bodies again and flew up. Woo woo woo. This time the sound became joy and flattery. The 9 ghost children surrounded Wei Hong docilely, and their original blood-red bodies returned to normal. Even their sharp teeth and claws were all retracted, and they were completely different from their previous violent forms. You know what's good for you." Wei Hong looked at the 9 ghost children with a sneer on his face, and then warned, "Remember, this is the first time and the last time. If you do it again, your body and soul will be destroyed." As Wei Hong's cold eyes swept over, the 9 ghost children were instantly silent. Woo woo woo. They nodded one after another, and their expressions were full of flattery and caution. At this point, the 9 ghost children were completely subdued. Wei Hong finally clearly sensed that the master recognition ceremony was completely completed. As the 9 ghost children woke up and returned to their positions, Wei Hong's heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally fell. Chapter 359 The Ghost Boy Warns of Crisis in the Dark Night. Ghost children surrounded Wei Hong in the middle, but he was calm and composed. If ordinary people saw this strange scene, they might be scared to death. Even if it was seen by cultivators, they would definitely regard Wei Hong as an evil demon cultivator, and then everyone would want to kill him. But Wei Hong didn't care. From the time he dripped blood to recognize the master to the ghost child's surrender, it actually only took half an hour. Moreover, the ghost child's scream was not a substantial sound, only he could hear it. Therefore, Wei Hong was not worried that this scene would be seen by others. Looking at the 9 ghost children surrounding him with flattering expressions, Wei Hong was in a good mood. "Haha, good, it's worth my effort to train you, not bad." Feeling the powerful aura of the 9 ghost children, the smile on his face became brighter and brighter, and his eyes were full of admiration. Because he found that the aura of each ghost child had reached the level of key training level 2 or even level 3, which was much stronger than him. This means that each ghost child has the combat power of key training level 2 or 3. Although they are somewhat afraid of the most yang and most powerful spells, if they avoid this shortcoming, they will definitely be an existence that is difficult to contend with for ordinary cultivators of the 2nd and 3rd levels of key training. Ordinary cultivators of the key training period rarely practice the most yang and most powerful spells, and low-level cultivators will not waste spirit stones to purchase ghost-suppressing talismans, so ghost children are still very useful during the key training period. If you add this strange method of absorbing life essence, I'm afraid you won't be afraid of facing multiple cultivators of the 3rd level of key training at the same time. The awakening of the powerful fighting power also made Wei Hong's confidence grow stronger. He could imagine how powerful these ghost children would be when facing ordinary cultivators. Haha, now I finally have one more trump card, and I don't have to use the black sword every time I encounter danger. The 9 ghost children directly strengthened Wei Hong's trump card, which made his tense heart relax a lot. And more than that, their intelligence seems to have been greatly awakened. This should be the effect of the netherworld spiritual flower, right? Wei Hong observed very carefully. He found that the eyes of the 9 ghost children were full of spirituality and wisdom, and their intelligence was obviously greatly awakened. In order to test their intelligence, he issued several orders in succession. Finally, it was confirmed that these ghost children were indeed greatly awakened, and each of them was as intelligent as a 6 or 7-year-old child. This is why they decisively chose to surrender after they found that they could not break free from the connection with Wei Hong and might be threatened with extinction. Ghost children with great intelligence will naturally avoid danger and seek good fortune. This change surprised Wei Hong very much. He understood that this should be caused by the netherworld spiritual flower before. It is worthy of being a rare flower and spiritual herb. It would be great if there were a few more. Wei Hong secretly sighed in his heart. Haha, not bad, not bad. As long as you do your best, I will not treat you unfairly. With such a trump card, Wei Hong naturally wanted to continue to cultivate it. Without any hesitation, he directly bled and fed it. He cut his wrist, and blood gushed out like a pillar. Wei Hong didn't waste any of the blood, and collected all of it into a wooden basin. He stopped bleeding only after the wooden basin was half full. Come, soak in it. Wei Hong waved his hand, and all 9 ghost children were collected into the locust tree puppet. Then he put the 9 locust tree puppets into the wooden basin one by one, letting them all soak in blood. The 9 ghost children inside the locust tree puppet devoured them eagerly, and soon they had sucked up all the blood in the large basin. Sure enough, I have to bleed them to feed them. It seems that this blood will be indispensable every day in the future. Feeling the excitement of the 9 ghost children because of sucking blood, Wei Hong also smiled slightly. Bleeding to feed the ghost children every day is something he has done before, and it is not a problem to continue feeding them now. Moreover, the ghost children will become stronger because of the daily blood feeding, so Wei Hong will definitely not be stingy. With a wave of his hand, 9 ghost children appeared again. "Go, keep watch for me, and give the alarm immediately if there is any movement." Wei Hong gave the order directly. He didn't have the conditions before, but now that he has such a good guard, it would be a waste not to keep watch for him. Woo woo woo. The 9 ghost children nodded happily at first, and then immediately flew out of the wooden house. After flying out of the wooden house, the 9 ghost children hid their bodies and floated around, guarding the wooden house firmly. Wei Hong relaxed his mind, and stopped practicing King Muju. He fell on the bed and began to sleep soundly. Tonight, he had to make the ghost children recognize their master and feed them with blood, which was a lot of trouble. Exhausted physically and mentally, Wei Hong planned to have a good sleep. In the second half of the night, woo woo woo, a sharp and piercing alarm sound suddenly rang in his ears. Wei Hong was relaxed because there were ghost children keeping watch, so he fell into deep sleep. But the moment the ghost children screamed to warn, he woke up immediately. Something's going on. Wei Hong's eyes suddenly opened in the darkness, his face heavy and puzzled. The next moment he sensed the message from the ghost boy. "There's a demon beast? How is that possible?" The message from the ghost boy surprised Wei Hong, and his face immediately became solemn. He didn't expect that an accident would actually happen on the night. He asked the ghost boy to keep watch. Wei Hong immediately jumped up from the bed without any hesitation and jumped out of the wooden house. "What's going on? What's going on?" After running out of the wooden house, Wei Hong's mind moved slightly and he recalled all the 9 ghost children who were on night watch, and then asked them carefully. At the same time, his body was always in a tense state, ready to respond to any possible accidents at any time. Woo woo woo. The 9 ghost children flew back quickly and lightly, and at the same time surrounded him and whimpered about what they found. "You said that the demon beast is out and about, and is slaughtering monks wantonly." Wei Hong's brows were tightly squeezed together, and he was shocked by this sudden change. The 9 ghost children, who were highly intelligent, had long been able to communicate with Wei Hong through their minds, and could accurately describe many situations. Since they said that a demon beast had appeared, it must be true. Wei Hong looked up at the forest with a solemn face, and heard all kinds of noisy sounds coming from the darkness, but he could not see anything clearly because of the darkness. The screams and the sounds of panicked escape made Wei Hong's uneasiness seem even heavier. "We can't stay here, let's go." The strong crisis that was coming towards him made him feel like a thorn in his back. Without any hesitation, Wei Hong kicked his feet hard and ran quickly towards the direction of the market. The 9 ghost children followed Wei Hong closely. Chapter 360, The fierceness is revealed, and there is a bloody massacre. Outside the market, in the forest that Wei Hong could not see, 7 or 8 monsters were rampaging wildly. Roar! A giant tiger about 10 feet long roared suddenly, shocking the 2 terrified monks to the ground. Then the tiger lightly jumped over a distance of more than 10 feet. Puff! A flash of white light appeared in the dark night, and the 2 monks who were lying on the ground were torn in half before they could even scream. Crunch! Crunch! The tiger opened its bloody mouth and bit the body of one of the monks directly, then chewed it gently twice in its mouth. Blood flew everywhere like juice, and the 2 halves of the body were easily bitten and swallowed. The other body suffered the same fate. Roar! The tiger that ate the 2 monks roared with satisfaction, and its eyes became more fiery and greedy when it looked at the other monks who were fleeing. With a slight movement of its limbs, the tiger rushed towards the cultivators in another direction. At the same time, several other monsters in the forest were also slaughtering the cultivators crazily and devouring the bodies of the dead cultivators one by one. The whole scene was like the hell of show, with broken limbs and blood all over the forest. These monsters that suddenly appeared were very smart. They not only chose the second half of the night, when people were most likely to relax their vigilance, but also chose the weakest group of cultivators in the forest. Therefore, when the monsters broke into the forest and slaughtered the cultivators living there crazily, large numbers of cultivators were easily slaughtered and devoured without any resistance. As a result, there was naturally a panic in the forest. Many cultivators who survived temporarily and saw that the situation was not good fled in terror, wanting to escape into the market as quickly as possible. As long as they could enter the market, their safety would be guaranteed. Wei Hong was also thinking the same thing. But before he ran far, a shocking roar suddenly exploded in his ears. Cry! The sharp scream seemed to be able to pierce the eardrum, making Wei Hong's face pale slightly. The next moment, A huge black shadow came from the sky above the forest and pressed down on the fleeing Wei Hong. As the huge black shadow kept approaching, a strong wind blew down. What the hell? Wei Hong's face changed drastically. He didn't even have time to look up, and subconsciously kicked the ground hard, and the whole person rushed out horizontally like a cannonball. Puff! With a crisp sound, a huge claw mark was directly scratched on the ground where Wei Hong was standing. The rocks and soil grabbed by the claw mark were also blown away by the strong wind that followed. Wei Hong rushed out more than 10 meters away, and before he could stand still, he was blown by the wind wave and staggered. Damn it, where did this monster bird come from? Wei Hong was shocked and angry after seeing the face of the attacker clearly. It was clearly a monster bird that was more than 10 feet tall and covered with dark iron feathers. Its two huge wings were a terrifying 5 feet long when spread out. The huge black shadow reflected on the ground just now was the figure of the demon bird, spreading its wings and flying towards him. Moreover, the demon bird had huge claws, and the claw hooks flashing with cold light were like daggers, which looked extremely sharp. And its curved and sharp beak was half a meter long. It looked that if it pecked it lightly, even a body cultivator might be broken into 2 pieces. The most terrifying thing was that the aura of this demon bird had reached the 3rd level of key training. After discovering this, Wei Hong couldn't help but grit his teeth, and his face became even uglier. Where did this unprovoked disaster come from? Wei Hong secretly groaned, but his expression became more and more solemn. Now that he has been targeted, it is not easy to get away easily. His eyes rolled wildly, trying to find a way to get away. However, the demon bird missed the attack, and its eyes were already full of anger. It looked at Wei Hong with a pair of eyes full of violence and coldness. The next moment, it spread its wings and swooped. Whoosh! Under the strong wind, the demon bird rushed towards Wei Hong with its huge body, as if it wanted to crush him with one claw. The violent momentum locked onto Wei Hong, and completely defeated his idea of escaping immediately. Damn it, why did you target me? Ghost boy, stop it. Wei Hong didn't know why the demon bird targeted him alone, but at this moment he had no choice but to fight back. At his call, 9 ghost boys immediately appeared and surrounded the demon bird to kill it. Cry. The appearance of the 9 ghost boys startled the demon bird slightly, and then it continued to pounce on Wei Hong regardless of anything. Wei Hong didn't dare to stay, and while urging the ghost boys to attack, his body burst out again. Puff puff puff. The plan of the 9 ghost boys to get close to him was directly thwarted, and the blood and ki bursting out from the demon bird shook them back again and again. The ghost boy's body is an invisible object, and ordinary objects can't cause any harm or influence to them. But the demon beast has surging blood and ki, and it is more restrained than ordinary warriors. So even though the ghost children were outnumbered and pressed forward, the dense ghost energy was pressing in from all directions, but they could only barely restrain the demon bird, and the 2 sides were still in a stalemate. Gradually, the ghost children became more and more ferocious. Woo woo woo. They flew up again, and this time they landed on the side of the demon bird without any hindrance, and began to bite it madly. The invisible body can cause damage to real objects, which is the advantage of the ghost children. Under the crazy biting of the 9 ghost children, many feathers on the demon bird were directly torn and fell to the ground. Chi. The demon bird was immediately furious, and spread its wings and flapped, trying to slap all the ghost children away. At the same time, the giant beak turned its head and pecked fiercely, trying to peck a ghost child directly to pieces. Unfortunately, the ghost children still bit it tightly and kept biting the flesh and wings of the demon bird. The ghost child targeted by the giant beak did not hide at all, because the giant beak directly passed through its body and did not cause any damage to it. Huh? Wei Hong, who was hiding aside, breathed a sigh of relief at this time. Fortunately, the 9 ghost children's strength has greatly increased, otherwise it is still uncertain whether they can entangle this demon bird. However, he also saw that the situation was not right. The 9 ghost children used various means. Biting, binding and ghost covering the eyes, etc., except biting, which can cause a little damage to the demon bird. The other means are useless. The ghost possession, which was originally the most effective against the enemy, is completely ineffective because the demon bird has spiritual power to protect itself. Seeing that the 9 ghost children temporarily entangled the demon bird, the 2 sides were fighting fiercely, and Wei Hong's face gradually became solemn. The demon bird either flapped its wings, or vibrated its spiritual power, or pounced with its sharp claws. In short, It also tried all kinds of means to get rid of the entanglement of the 9 ghost children. It has only one goal, that is Wei Hong, who is hiding aside. Wei Hong didn't know why the demon bird was targeting him. In fact, in the eyes of the demon bird, Wei Hong, who has transformed from the innate realm of martial arts to the first level of key training, the blood and fragrance on his body are just like fireflies in the dark night, so dazzling. The demon bird immediately noticed him, and then it pounced on Wei Hong. Chapter 361 Escape and Chaos. Bang! A big tree was blown by the wings of the monster bird and was smashed directly. With the monster bird as the center, large areas of trees and rocks continued to suffer devastating damage. The wind blew frequently, and gravel and sand flew everywhere. It is no exaggeration to say that there were flying sand and running stones. Wei Hong looked quite embarrassed in such an environment. His hair had been blown away. The clothes on his body were also blown and rustled. The whole person kept dodging left and right, not daring to let the monster bird get close. Damn it, are all monsters so strong? Looking at the monster bird that was bound and bitten by the 9 ghost children, but still violent and raging, Wei Hong couldn't help cursing inwardly. Each of his ghost children has the combat power of the 2nd or 3rd level of key training, which is absolutely a weapon against ordinary cultivators. But it happened that he encountered a monster bird of the 3rd level of key training just after waking up, which was really unlucky. Facing such an opponent with a strong physique and surging blood, the ghost child really couldn't exert his true combat power. At this moment, the 9 ghost children were beginning to be unable to restrain the demon bird. The demon bird kept looking at Wei Hong with a cold look, as if it was looking at a dead person. It was obviously extremely furious and wanted to tear him to pieces immediately. Wei Hong, who was only at the 1st level of key training, could not help the ghost child in such a situation, or it could not help without special powerful means. Even if he got a little closer, he might be torn to pieces by the violent invitation. Under the demon bird's strong physique and sharp claws, his body could not resist at all. Are you going to use that trick again? Wei Hong's face was ugly and he was a little entangled for a while. He wanted to rely on the 9 ghost children to entangle the demon bird, and then take the opportunity to get away. But the demon bird did not give him this opportunity at all. Even though it was constantly entangled and bound by the 9 ghost children, it could still lock Wei Hong firmly and prevent him from escaping. Now, the only way to break the situation is to use powerful means to severely injure the demon bird. After that, he and the ghost child can escape safely. The only killing move Wei Hong has now is the black sword. Roar, roar, roar. The roar coming from the forest not far away became more and more terrifying, and it seemed to be approaching his direction. And the voices of those scattered cultivators gradually became incessant. Wei Hong knew that this was because the slaughter and rampage had reached the end. If he didn't leave, he might really not be able to leave. I can't wait any longer. Wei Hong's heart was chilled, and all his entanglements and hesitations were instantly thrown away. Killing intent emerged in his eyes, and he looked at the monster bird expressionlessly. You are looking for death, so you can't blame me. With a thought, the 9 ghost children all changed their forms, just like when they attacked Wei Hong before. Not only did their bodies grow in size, but their sharp teeth also doubled in size. Puff, puff. The 9 ghost children once again bit the monster bird crazily. Cry. This time the monster bird screamed crazily in pain. Not only did it flap its wings wildly, but its huge body was also shaking wildly, trying to throw all the 9 ghost children away. But the 9 ghost children held on tightly and could not be shaken off. At this time, the demon bird had already sensed that something was wrong. Seeing that it could not easily shake off the ghost children, it wanted to get away from this place first and did not want to entangle with them anymore. It flapped its wings slightly and was about to take off. Before it was ready to take off, the demon bird glared at Wei Hong's original position, wanting to remember Wei Hong, the cultivator. But Wei Hong's figure had already disappeared. This change made the demon bird stun for a moment, and its reaction was also half a beat slower. The next moment, a fatal crisis came from the other side. Want to run? You stay here. The voice that was icy and full of murderous intent sounded with a streak of silk. The demon bird was stimulated by the fatal chill and its feathers stood upside down. In horror, it was about to flap its wings and fly wildly. But Wei Hong would not give it half a chance. A black sword wrapped in endless murderous intent turned into a huge blood-colored sword energy and slashed towards the demon bird's neck. And an invisible force bound the monster bird to the spot, making it unable to move at all. Puff. Bang! With a light sound. The blood-colored sword energy was like entering an empty space, directly cutting off the monster bird's huge head, and then it fell heavily to the ground. The monster blood gushed out instantly. If Wei Hong hadn't dodged quickly, he might have been drenched. At the moment the head fell to the ground, the monster bird's eyes were still full of horror and unwillingness. It seemed that it had never thought that it would fall into the hands of a cultivator of the first level of key training. After killing the monster bird with a sword, Wei Hong felt that his blood and spiritual energy were almost consumed. He staggered slightly, and his face turned pale. In order to ensure a fatal blow, he did not hold back at all. Fortunately, the result was not deviated. It's a pity for these monster blood and monster materials. Let's go. The roar was getting closer and closer, and Wei Hong had no time to deal with the corpse of the monster bird. Therefore, he only had time to cut off the tail feathers and 4 sharp toes of one claw of the monster bird with a black sword, and immediately fled after putting all the materials into the storage bag, not daring to stay for a moment. As for the monster's flesh and blood, he could only regretfully give it up. After all, his storage bag was still filled with several thousand kilograms of spiritual ore, and there was really not much space to hold such a huge monster bird. The 9 ghost children followed him like a shadow and quickly fled. Wei Hong quickly approached the entrance of the market, and then chose a place at the entrance of the market to hide. It's finally safe. Wei Hong breathed a sigh of relief. There's basically no danger here, and those monsters will never dare to attack the market even if they are brave. Unfortunately, after nightfall, those who do not have the right to live in the market are not allowed to enter the market. Otherwise, hiding in the market must be safer. Carefully hiding his body, Wei Hong had time to observe the surrounding situation. At this time, there were still many escaped cultivators at the entrance of the market. They all turned around and looked at the forest with lingering fear, and their faces looked like they had escaped death. Wei Hong also looked towards the forest and found that the roars of monsters and the cries for help of the cultivators were coming one after another, which sounded extremely creepy. Those cultivators who did not escape were obviously being slaughtered crazily and then faced the fate of being swallowed by monsters. However, no matter how dense the screams and cries for help were in the forest, the guards at the entrance of the market completely turned a deaf ear to them. Even their faces did not change at all, and they just watched coldly. It was as if the cultivators were not being slaughtered but a group of pigs and dogs, and they were allowed to be slaughtered and swallowed by monsters at will. Even some cultivators who escaped death begged the guards to let them enter the market, but were directly blasted out. At this moment, the inside and outside of the market were like 2 completely different worlds. One was full of crises and could die at any time due to various crises. The other was as solid as a rock and extremely safe. Chapter 362, The Green Water and Green Armor Formation. Entrance to the market town. Senior, please help save my brother. A young cultivator with disheveled hair and a face covered in mud was begging in front of 2 guards. Even though several people had been kicked out by the guards just now, the embarrassed young cultivator still did not give up and wanted to beg the guards to help. Not for anything else, just to save his brother. Get lost. The guard on the left had a fierce look in his eyes and scolded impatiently, if you say another word, I will kick you back to the forest. How could they help a mere casual cultivator? What's more, their duty is only to guard the market town. What does the life and death of those casual cultivators outside the market have to do with them? The young casual cultivator's plea did not win any sympathy. At this time, the patrol team in the market town finally arrived. Wang Meng, what's going on? The patrol leader saw the mess at the entrance of the market town and immediately frowned and questioned the guard. Senior Lin, there are several monsters in the forest outside, slaughtering the scattered cultivators. These scattered cultivators just escaped. The guard named Wang Meng immediately put away his attitude of keeping strangers away, turned around and explained to the patrol captain with a smile on his face. Okay, tell them to disperse. The patrol captain waved his hand impatiently. Yes, yes. Guard Wang Meng first agreed, then turned around and scolded the scattered cultivators at the entrance of the market. Didn't you hear what Senior Lin said? Spread out, don't block the entrance. Some scattered cultivators near the entrance of the market were immediately filled with shame and anger, but they had no choice but to secretly curse and disperse. Training Captain Lin Zai didn't care about this. He just looked at the forest with an indifferent expression, but he didn't mean to rescue them at all. He took out a circular array from his arms, and then released his spiritual energy to manipulate the array. Buzz! An invisible wave flashed by in an instant. A blue circular shield immediately rose outside the market, protecting the market firmly inside. This is the defensive formation of the market. At the same time, after the formation rose, a faint sense of crisis lingered in everyone's heart. Is this the second-level formation of the market, the green water and blue armor formation? Looking at the rising formation not far away, Wei Hong guessed secretly in his heart. He had only heard of this second-level defensive formation but had never seen it. He didn't expect to see it under such circumstances today. As the green water and blue armor formation rose, the monsters in the distant mountains and forests seemed to feel a strong sense of crisis. Roar, roar, roar. Cry, cry, cry. Several monsters roared a few times from afar, quickly slaughtered all the monks in the mountains and forests, and then turned around and left. The second-level formation was not something they could contend with at all. After they had eaten and drunk their fill, they naturally did not dare to approach the market rashly. After a while, after making sure that the monsters had been driven away, Linzai said coldly, "Okay, let's go." After that, he put away the array plate, without even looking at the others, and turned around with a group of patrol members to patrol in another direction. "Okay, let's go, let's go." Guard Wang Meng also waved his hand and scolded. "Huh, they finally left. Alice, let's go. It's no use looking, let's go." The departure of the monsters made many surviving cultivators breathe a sigh of relief. Then, under the scolding of the guards, the cultivators at the entrance of the market left with desolate and helpless faces. They were all the lowest-level cultivators who had no money to live in the market. Now that the monsters have been driven away, they can only continue to return to the mountains and forests, because they have nowhere to go. However, Wei Hong did not leave for the time being, but looked at the two guards at the entrance of the market indifferently. He had just witnessed all this from a distance, which made him once again see the cruelty and reality of the world of immortal cultivation. No strength, no background, no connections. For low-level casual cultivators like them, no one would care if they died. They would even be treated like pigs and dogs by others, with no dignity and status at all. It can be said that the scene he just saw made Wei Hong more aware of the reality. Strength is everything. Without strength, you are really worse than pigs and dogs. With such self-mockery, Wei Hong turned around and walked into the forest again. He returned to his wooden house and found that it had not been damaged at all, which gave Wei Hong some comfort. "I can't live here anymore. I don't want to put my safety in danger, and I don't want to experience this again." Wei Hong's eyes were very bright in the dark night, and he made a decisive decision in his heart: move into the market tomorrow, and don't delay for a day. Staying in the forest may be slaughtered and ravaged by monsters at any time, which is equivalent to placing your life in a dangerous place without any security guarantee. This is something he can't accept anyway. He dare not live in such a forest anymore. That night, Wei Hong didn't sleep all night. He was in a state of meditation until dawn. At the same time, they also maintained extreme vigilance, and the 9 ghost children kept guarding around the wooden house. Fortunately, no accidents happened after the monsters rampaged. The next day, Wei Hong woke up from meditation, washed up quickly, and went straight to the market. The guards during the day did not refuse Wei Hong and others from entering the market. After Wei Hong entered the market, he found a place to rent houses. Rental pavilion. Looking at the 3 gold-plated characters on the plaque above his head, Wei Hong read it softly and walked in. After entering the rental pavilion hall, he went straight to the rental counter. "Senior, I want to rent a room." When he came to the rental counter, Wei Hong bowed to an old man in a gray robe. "Oh, rent." The old man in the gray robe seemed to be still asleep, his eyes were sleepy, and his reaction was a beat slower. "Yes, rent a wooden house, what's the price?" Seeing the old man's sleepy look, Wei Hong was a little helpless and could only repeat it again. "Oh." The gray-robed old man came to his senses at this time, and then looked at Wei Hong and said, "5 spirit stones a month for an ordinary house, do you want to rent it?" "Rent, 1 month first." Wei Hong nodded and handed over 5 spirit stones directly. Compared with his own safety, 5 spirit stones were really nothing at this time. He had no choice before when he first arrived, but now that he could earn more spirit stones, he would naturally not be reluctant to spend this little money. "Okay, this is the 30th house in Area C3, which has just been cleared out. Here is the key, take it." The gray-robed old man arranged a wooden house for Wei Hong very neatly, and handed the key to him directly after registering it. After receiving the key, Wei Hong felt a little relieved, and finally he didn't have to worry every night. Chapter 363 Renting a House, He-You. After coming out of the rental pavilion, Wei Hong went straight to Area C3. In the Qingyuan Mountain Market, the residences rented to independent cultivators or merchants are divided into 4 areas, A, B, C, and D. Area A is an independent courtyard, which is the best and most secure residence. The other 3 areas, B, C, and D, are not much different. They are all ordinary houses, which are naturally far from independent courtyards. Wei Hong was already familiar with the distribution of various buildings in the market. He went straight to Area C3 in the south of the city. Soon, he found the house he rented. House number 30. Looking at the house number hanging in front of the door, Wei Hong confirmed it. The house number 30 he rented was located in the middle of a row of houses, with 20 to 30 houses on each side. Although it was not the first time Wei Hong came to this house area, it was the first house he rented, so he looked around carefully outside before entering. The whole house was built of cold iron wood, and the area was not large, only about 10 square meters. And it was a prohibited building, and all the houses in this row looked the same. Except for the independent courtyard in Area A, the houses in Areas B, C, and D all have no defensive array. Therefore, these houses can only serve as shelter for the renters. When they are in danger, they have no protective effect. The cold iron wood can only defend against ordinary swords and low-level spells. The probability of danger in the market is very small. This is much safer than the wooden house in the mountains. Wei Hong was very sober and thought clearly. He would not stop renting these houses just because they were not protected by arrays. Only fools would think that. Apart from anything else, the 2-price array outside the market alone can give people an infinite sense of security. What's more, there are patrols patrolling in the market all the time. The most important point is that it is a dream to ask for a protective array for only 5 spirit stones. Wei Hong would not have such an unrealistic idea. After looking at it for a while, he took out the key, opened the door and walked in. The layout and structure inside also seemed very simple. There was only one room, a wooden bed and a set of tables and chairs, and nothing else. Wei Hong looked around and said with a helpless smile, "There is not even a well. It seems that if we want to use water, we have to go to the river outside to get water, or use water magic to make water by ourselves." It was a very simple house. Although he complained about it, he was already very satisfied. This is much better than the broken wooden house outside the market, and the safety is even worse. Go buy some daily necessities first, so that I can finally sleep well tonight. After carefully checking the rented house, Wei Hong locked the door and went out directly. He first went to the grocery store to buy some daily necessities, including a bucket and a basin, so that it would be convenient to get water later. Then he bought some storable food such as grain, oil, rice and flour, and returned to the house with some meat. He is only at the first level of key training now, and it is far from the time for fasting. What's more, fasting pills are not something he can afford, so he still needs to prepare some daily food. The next day Wei Hong woke up from the rented house, looking very relaxed. This is the life that people should live. Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. Finally he didn't have to worry anymore. This kind of life is what he wanted, at least he didn't have to worry about encountering danger every night. He took out the daily necessities he just bought yesterday and washed himself, thought for a while, took out a few water shield talismans and went out directly. After he went out, he didn't go to the talisman workshop, but came to the house next to him on the left. Beep. Wei Hong stepped forward and knocked twice, then returned to his original position and waited. After a while, the door of the 31st house was gently opened. "Huh? Taoist friend, what are you doing?" A middle-aged man with black hair and a handsome face opened the door and saw Wei Hong's unfamiliar face, and couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Seeing the man's alert look that he might close the door at any time, Wei Hong smiled and said, "Dao, don't blame me, I am Wei Hong. I just rented the 30th house yesterday, and we will be neighbors in the future, so I thought of visiting Dao." Wei Hong first introduced himself, and then explained his purpose. "Oh? It's you, Taoist Wei, who just moved in. Nice to meet you." The middle-aged man let down his guard after hearing this, and then opened the door and invited, "Taoist Wei, please come in and chat? Oh, by the way, I'm He-You, sorry for being rude." The middle-aged man almost forgot to introduce himself to each other, and hurriedly added with a smile, "Haha, Taoist He, You're too polite. Wei Hong smiled indifferently, then took out a talisman and handed it over. I won't come in, I still have to work later. This is a talisman I drew for fun. It's not worth much money. I'll just treat it as a gift for Taoist friends. I hope Taoist he won't despise it. It's naturally not appropriate to go in for the first visit. Wei Hong still understands this etiquette. He just wanted to make a familiar face. After all, he will live here in the future, and it is still necessary to have a good relationship with the neighbors around. For this reason, he didn't hesitate to take out the water shield talisman as a gift. Hey, this is not allowed. You did not expect Wei Hong to be so polite, and quickly waved his hand to refuse. No, you are too polite. We are neighbors, there is no need to be so. Hey, you are polite, it's just a talisman. We are neighbors, I will ask you to take care of me in the future. Wei Hong stepped forward without saying anything and stuffed the water shield talisman into Hiyu's hand. Hey, Wei Daoyao, please do it, then I will accept it. Come on, Wei Daoyao, please come in, you have to have a cup of tea before you leave. Hiyu could not refuse, so he shamelessly accepted the talisman, and then asked Wei Hong to come in again with an enthusiastic attitude. Wei Hong waved his hand and said, Don't blame me, Hidaoyao, I really have to go to work. I will come to bother you again when I have time. Go to work? Is Wei Daoyao a talisman master in the talisman workshop? Wei Hong mentioned going to work twice, and Hiyu guessed his identity from the talisman. Haha, that's true, but I just became a talisman master not long ago. Wei Hong said modestly. Excuse me, I must get closer to you in the future. Of course, fellow Taoist, please stay. After another polite remark, Wei Hong said goodbye to Hiyu and left. Then he went to knock on the doors of several neighbors on the left and right, and gave each of them a water shield talisman as a greeting gift. In this way, Wei Hong showed his face in front of several neighbors. At the same time, he was also showing his identity as a talisman master to the outside world, thus avoiding some unnecessary troubles. From this day on, Wei Hong officially lived in the market as a talisman painter in the talisman workshop. Chapter 364 Purchase magical weapons and upgrade your rifles to better weapons. Wei Hong's life has returned to peace. After living in the market, his safety has been greatly guaranteed. In this way, Wei Hong's daily life has become very regular. He draws talismans in the talisman workshop during the day and leaves the workshop before dusk to return to the rented house. Or go to the market, or occasionally sit down with a few neighbors on the left and right to exchange experiences. He has long been familiar with several neighbors next to him, and has a little understanding of their details. Like Hiyu, who lives on his left, he is an alchemy apprentice in the alchemy workshop, and his identity is very similar to Wei Hong. The other few people are either spirit plant husbands or leather workers. In short, they all have a good job and their identities are roughly the same. In this way, there is naturally no class between the few people, and Wei Hong is much more familiar with them. And those neighbors later returned a gift worth about the same as the water shield talisman, which made him feel quite good. Although the ordinary life is boring, it makes Wei Hong happy. The only thing that makes him feel inadequate is that the accumulation speed of spirit stones is too slow. Even though I've become a talisman painter in the workshop, I still can't save many spirit stones. How can I live like this? Wei Hong shook his head in distress in his room. It has been 2 months since he moved into the market. In the past 2 months, Wei Hong has accumulated dozens of spirit stones by constantly drawing talismans. It seems a lot, but it doesn't last long at all. I have to buy magic tools, robes, and elixirs. This amount of spirit stones is really a drop in the bucket. I have to endure the taste of spiritual rice and monster meat occasionally. Wei Hong sighed. Now that he has successfully established himself in the Qingyuan Mountain Market, and he can earn a lot of spirit stones every month by drawing talismans, so naturally he wants to buy some things that can enhance his combat power or enhance his ability to save his life. For example, magic tools and robes, such as elixirs and talismans. These are all things he really wants to get. Unfortunately, with the dozens of spirit stones he has accumulated, it would be good enough to buy 1 or 2 things. Let's go to the market first. We can't go to the treasure pavilion for the time being. With all the spirit stones he had accumulated, Wei Hong went straight to the market. This time he did not change his appearance again, but used his true appearance. He is now a talisman painter in the talisman workshop, and spending dozens of spirit stones will no longer arouse suspicion. Soon, after arriving at the market, Wei Hong found a stall that specializes in selling various magic tools and robes. Dao, take a look at it, and we'll talk if you like it. As soon as Wei Hong stood in front of the stall, the middle-aged stall owner with a goatee greeted him warmly. Wei Hong nodded and squatted directly in front of the stall. This stall sells a lot of things, about more than 10 magic tools, most of which are first-level low-grade magic tools, and only 2 of them are first-level medium-grade. Among them, flying swords are the majority, and the rest are flying knives and flying forks. In addition to these magic tools, there are 3 robes, 2 old and 1 new. Wei Hong first picked up a flying knife, looked at it, and then put it down. Then he picked up another flying sword. After flicking the back of the sword with his fingers, Wei Hong asked in a calm tone, Dao, how much is this flying sword? 40 spirit stones. The stall owner replied with a smile. Wei Hong's mouth twitched. You are too outrageous. A first-level low-grade flying sword can only cost 30 spirit stones at most. Why do you ask for 40? 30? There is no such price. Dao, if you don't believe it, just ask. If there is anyone who sells it for 30 spirit stones, I will give it to you directly. The stall owner shook his head and vowed that he would never sell it at this price. Then, without waiting for Wei Hong to speak, he boasted, although my flying sword is a first-level low-grade magic weapon, it is extremely sharp. It is forged with my great efforts. It has a sharp magic band and the spiritual energy flows very smoothly. Dao, I will definitely not lose money if you buy it. Then 31 spirit stones, is that okay? Wei Hong squinted and chopped. Hey, Taoist friend, if you really want it, take 38 spirit stones. The middle-aged stall owner looked honest. I'll give you 32 spirit stones at most. No, the lowest is 37. 33, no more. Taoist friend, this. After some bargaining, the middle-aged stall owner finally agreed to sell the flying sword to Wei Hong for 34 spirit stones. Wei Hong was not in a hurry to pay, but picked up a brand new robe and waited, and asked, how much is this robe? Hey, Taoist friend, you really have a good eye. My robe is not only defensive, but also can keep out fire and cold. 50 spirit stones each, no bargaining. The middle-aged stall owner saw that there was a second order of business, and immediately explained it with emotion. 50 spirit stones. Wei Hong's eyes widened instantly. This was completely out of his budget. He hurriedly put down the brand new robe, fearing that it would be torn. The price of 50 spirit stones was not something he could afford. The flying sword just now had already made him feel very painful. What about this one? Wei Hong turned his eyes and pointed at the half-new robe next to him. This was obviously a second-hand robe that someone else bought, and it looked worse than the brand-new robe next to it. Since he couldn't afford a brand-new robe, he could only reluctantly buy a second-hand robe to make do with it. The middle-aged stall owner rolled his eyes and replied, 28 spirit stones if you want it. You dare to ask for 28 spirit stones for a second-hand item that someone else bought. Wei Hong curled his lips in disgust. Hey, fellow Taoist, what you said is not right. The middle-aged stall owner was immediately unhappy. He said angrily, although my robe was bought by someone else, it has no effect on its function at all, and if it wasn't a second-hand robe, you wouldn't be able to buy it for 28 spirit stones. Then what function does your robe have? Wei Hong asked. It has defense and cleaning functions. A first-level low-grade defense spell is engraved on the robe. It can be activated by spiritual energy, and it can automatically clean once a day. The middle-aged stall owner introduced it with extraordinary familiarity. That's it. Wei Hong sneered. Isn't that enough? 20 spiritual stones. Impossible, the lowest is 27. How can something used by others be worth this price? The most is 21. The 2 of them had another verbal battle. In the end, the second-hand robe was bought by Wei Hong at the price of 23 spiritual stones. A brand new flying sword plus a second-hand robe cost a total of 57 spiritual stones. Damn it, the spiritual stones accumulated for 2 months are gone again, it's really a waste. Wei Hong smiled bitterly in his heart. The flying sword and the robe were what he had always wanted to buy, not for anything else, just to make himself look like a cultivator, not a chores. Now he finally got his wish. Even if he spent the spiritual stones accumulated for 2 months for it, he felt it was worth it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365. The current situation of independent cultivators is in a difficult situation. What a pity, my pocket is empty. Wei Hong sighed secretly. He looked at the other things on the stall. Although he wanted to buy more, he could only leave helplessly. A flying sword and a second-hand robe emptied Wei Hong's money by half. The remaining spiritual stones were needed to maintain his life, so he couldn't use them easily. On the way back to House 30, Wei Hong bought 3 caddies of first-grade low-quality spiritual rice and 5 caddies of first-grade low-quality monster meat, which cost him another 3 spiritual stones plus 70 broken spirits. Then he took these things and went straight back to the rental house to prepare dinner. Washing rice, cutting meat, and stewing. It was a simple meal, but the price was not cheap. It costs almost 1 spiritual stone for a meal. It's really not easy to live in the market. Eating the fragrant spiritual rice and the soft and tasty monster meat, Wei Hong felt infinite emotion in his heart. He didn't expect that he would still live in such a tight situation after becoming a talisman painter. He wanted to break every spiritual stone into 2 halves to spend. It even took Wei Hong 2 months of accumulating spirit stones to buy a flying sword and a second-hand robe, which made his life quite difficult. The average monthly salary for drawing talismans is 25 spirit stones, and the profit I secretly intercept is about 25 to 30 spirit stones. In total, I can get about 50 spirit stones a month, and sometimes 55. Among the lower-level cultivators, my income is already very good. It is several times more than the average person's monthly income of 10 to 8 spirit stones. Unfortunately, it is still stretched. Wei Hong calculated carefully in his mind while eating spiritual rice and monster meat. On weekdays, I can go to the river to fetch water, which doesn't cost money. But the daily consumption of spiritual rice and monster meat is a huge expense. Each pound of first-grade low-grade spiritual rice costs 40 broken spirits, and each pound of first-grade low-grade monster meat costs 50 broken spirits. At this stage, I can't afford to buy elixirs, so I can only eat some spiritual rice and monster meat to speed up my cultivation. Even if I only eat 1 pound of spiritual rice and 1 pound of monster meat every day, it will cost a total of 90 broken spirits. So that's 27 spirit stones a month, and basically all my wages are invested in this. If I eat more, I'm afraid it will be more than doubled. You don't know until you calculate it. Wei Hong was shocked when he calculated it. He just wanted to do a random calculation, but he didn't expect that he didn't seem to be much richer than before. Apart from other things, the daily expenses of spirit rice and monster meat alone can spend all his wages. But there is nothing he can do about it, because he can't afford to buy elixirs. After switching to the King Muju, Wei Hong's cultivation speed has been greatly improved, but it is still slow to practice only by sitting in meditation every day. Without elixirs and the assistance of the spirit gathering array, his cultivation speed cannot be accelerated. This is the general situation of low-level casual cultivators. When he can't afford elixirs, Wei Hong can only eat the most ordinary spirit rice and monster meat every day to help his cultivation and increase his cultivation speed. Because at present, he can only afford the first-grade low-grade spirit rice and first-grade low-grade monster meat, 2 kinds of food containing spiritual energy, and he dare not think about other things. Let me think about other expenses. Wei Hong slapped his head with a wry smile, and then continued to calculate. In addition to the expenses of spiritual rice and monster meat, the monthly rental fee of the house is 5 spiritual stones, and the night incense fee and other miscellaneous expenses add up to at least 2 spiritual stones. If you're calculated this way, the monthly expenses are at least 34 spiritual stones, and sometimes more than 40 spiritual stones. Hiss, after deducting various expenses, then I can only afford 1 spirit gathering pill in a month. Or maybe I can't even afford 1 spirit gathering pill. After calculating the expenses one by one, Wei Hong couldn't help but gasp. It was not because of fear, but because of a headache. He had not calculated the various expenses of each month in detail before, but just spent money on what he should spend, such as spiritual rice and monster meat, which he had to eat at least 1 meal every day. There are also compulsory expenses such as house rental and night incense fees, which must be paid, and he couldn't save them even if he wanted to. If he hadn't calculated it on a whim today, he wouldn't have known that he was still as poor as before. After working hard for a month, after deducting various expenses for food, drink, and defecation, he could only save enough money for one elixir. If he hadn't drawn dozens of talismans in the past 2 months and saved money, he might not even be able to afford a flying sword and a second-hand robe. I'm poor, too poor. No matter how many spirit stones I have, it's not enough. Wei Hong looked melancholy. From the previous salary of a few spirit stones per month to the current dozens of spirit stones per month, it still can't meet Wei Hong's various needs. Now when he thinks of spending dozens of spirit stones every month, he is very headache, and he wishes he could draw twice as many talismans every month. However, with his cultivation level that has not made much progress, the talismans he can draw every month are basically the same. If he wants to increase the number of finished products, he can only improve his cultivation level or increase the success rate. There is no other way. However, this is also a problem that he has no way to solve for the time being. In this way, his idea of earning more spirit stones is naturally shattered. Make money, how to make money? What other ways are there to make money? Wei Hong's thoughts turned rapidly. At this moment, he wanted to find another way to make money to ease his poor life. He had already moved into the market, so it was normal for his monthly expenses to increase. It was obviously impossible for him to rely on only a few spirit stones every month like he did at the beginning, and he couldn't accept it. Therefore, he was eager to earn more spirit stones. But I can't find it for the time being. In the final analysis, my strength is too low, otherwise there would be no such distress. Wei Hong smiled bitterly and shook his head. He thought about it and couldn't think of a better way to make money, so he could only sigh. In the final analysis, his strength was too low. If his cultivation could be improved by a few levels, the spirit stones he could earn would naturally increase a lot. To be honest, Wei Hong's current income is actually much better than that of many casual cultivators. Income of dozens of spirit stones every month is something that many casual cultivators dare not even think about. However, with the increase in income, various expenses will also increase accordingly. After all, only by making money can you have money to spend. Wei Hong also understood this truth, but he was just a little depressed. He understood that these were all temporary. Of course, he would not give up looking for more ways to make money. Not only do we need to make money, we also need to find a way to obtain vitality points, otherwise the development speed is too slow. Making money and obtaining vitality points are the most urgent problems that Wei Hong needs to solve at present. Especially the acquisition of vitality points, which will directly affect the speed of his strength improvement, and he cannot afford to be careless. Keep looking, I don't believe I can't find it. A trace of determination flashed in Wei Hong's eyes. Chapter 366 Bottleneck, Trouble. Ding number 7 Talisman Drawing Room. Wei Hong looked very focused, holding a talisman pen and sketching runes on the talisman skin. In addition to various talisman drawing tools and materials, a small and exquisite incense burner was placed on the large white jade table. In the incense burner, light smoke rose up, like a thread. The reddish flames danced on the spices, exuding a calming fragrance. There was also a thin layer of smoke around the incense burner, which slowly dissipated with a breeze, filling the entire talisman drawing room with the smell of spices. Wei Hong was now fully devoted to drawing talismans, and his strokes were as smooth as flowing water, showing his proficiency. After a while, he quietly stopped writing. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged slightly in the talisman drawing room, and poured into the talisman that had just been drawn on the table. After 3 breaths, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth calmed down again. The talisman that had just been drawn on the table was slightly flickering with spiritual light, and it looked full of spiritual energy. Huh? Wei Hong gently put the talisman pen back to its place, then took the water shield talisman he had just drawn and placed it on the top of the pile of talismans next to him. The pile of talismans looked like there were at least 17 or 18 pieces, and it was obvious that Wei Hong had worked hard all day to draw them. 18 pieces, all water shield talismans, not bad. Wei Hong commented secretly. At this time, more than 3 months had passed since he bought a flying sword. After so many months of continuous drawing talismans, Wei Hong's success rate in drawing water shield talismans has gradually approached 50%, and he is obviously more skilled. The increase in success rate naturally means an increase in income, but Wei Hong's face did not show much joy, but a little depressed. Alice, almost half a year has passed, and my cultivation has not increased much? It will take at least another half a year to break through to the second level of key training. This is too slow. Wei Hong sighed with a depressed and distressed face. It was just because he had switched to practicing King Muju for almost half a year, but in the past 6 months, Wei Hong's cultivation growth rate was not as fast as he expected, which made him a little disappointed. In the past 6 months, he has been practicing hard every day, which can be called hard work. However, his strength growth is not as expected. Now his cultivation has barely reached the halfway point of the first level of key training. It will take at least half a year to break through to the second level of key training. This disappointed Wei Hong, who had been looking forward to it. He didn't expect that after switching to a better technique, he still couldn't break through to the second level of key training. Alice, not only is the growth of cultivation slow, but even the talisman drawing technique has fallen into a bottleneck. It's really not going well. Wei Hong sighed again with a depressed look. In the past 6 months, not only has his cultivation failed to achieve a breakthrough, but even the talisman drawing technique has fallen into a bottleneck. A 50% success rate is the peak he can achieve at present. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how he tries, he can't break through this bottleneck. Wei Hong knew very well that this was due to his talent. In the final analysis, without the vitality points, no matter how hard he tried, he was just a small casual cultivator with low talent and mediocre strength. He would also encounter problems such as difficulty in cultivation growth and early bottlenecks in skills, just like most casual cultivators. If they simply rely on time to grind, without any connections and resources, they may not be able to enter the middle or late stages of key training in their entire lives, let alone build a foundation. This is the sadness of the low-level small casual cultivators, and it is also the reason why they are lost in the crowd. Only a few can truly break through this dilemma and stand out from the many casual cultivators, or even 1 in 10,000. If Wei Hong did not have a system and vitality points, he would be like many low-level casual cultivators and would never be able to stand out. Fortunately, I have vitality points. As long as I have enough vitality points, I can develop even without other resources. Wei Hong is very clear about his advantages. But now vitality points have become the biggest problem restricting his development. Without vitality points, I can't do anything, and I can't even break through the bottleneck of drawing talismans. I can't live like this. Living like this is Wei Hong's consistent concept and style, but that is based on the situation of continuous development. Now he has no vitality points and can't develop, and even improving his strength is extremely slow. This is different from what Wei Hong imagined. We must find a way to obtain vitality points as soon as possible. Wei Hong gritted his teeth secretly. He knew his strengths and how difficult his current situation was. If he wanted to break through, he had to find a way to gain vitality points as soon as possible. This was also the only way to change the current predicament. I have to ask someone. Fortunately, I have not gained nothing in the past 6 months. Thinking of this, Wei Hong's mouth was once again filled with a smile. Although his cultivation has been slow in the past 6 months and his talisman drawing skills have reached a bottleneck, he has made considerable progress in spell cultivation. The proficiency of the 4 spells, Wood Thorns, Wood Walls, Breath Holding and Ghost Controlling, has increased a lot. Among them, Wood Thorns and Wood Walls have reached the mastery level, and Breath Holding is about to break through. The slowest is Ghost Controlling, which has just passed the halfway point of the entry level. First level low-grade spell Wood Thorn, current proficiency is Mastery, 20/300. First level low-grade spell Wood Wall, current proficiency is Mastery, 15/300. First level low-grade spell Breathing, current proficiency is entry level, 95 out of 100. First level low-grade spell Ghost Control, current proficiency is entry level, 280/500. The proficiency of these 4 spells was completely cultivated by Wei Hong step by step, without the help of any vitality points. This is also the only thing that made him feel slightly happy in the past 6 months. Various other problems piled up together, making Wei Hong feel more and more depressed and distressed. High expenses, few spiritual stones accumulated. I can't afford to take elixirs, and my cultivation level increases slowly. Without vitality points, my talisman drawing skills are stuck in a bottleneck and cannot break through. All the problems have come together, it's difficult. Wei Hong sighed heavily in the talisman drawing room. It's difficult, but he still has to find a way to solve it. Wei Hong was deep in thought. He stopped drawing talismans and paced back and forth in the talisman drawing room. Various thoughts flashed through his mind. Who should I ask? Manager Wang? That won't work. LV Fang? That won't work either. You? There's no point asking him. Wei Hong thought about it, but couldn't think of who to ask. It was because he had entered the world of Immortal Cultivation too recently and didn't have any connections yet. So when he encountered a problem, he couldn't find anyone to ask. Oh, maybe I can ask him. Wei Hong suddenly paused, and a figure flashed through his mind. After this idea came to mind, it was like a nail stuck in his mind. Okay, let's find him. Chapter 367, Beihou Tower, Apply for the Map. The next evening, Wei Hong left the talisman workshop an hour early and walked slowly towards Beihou Tower. Beihou Tower is a small tea house in the market of Qinghai Mountain, where you can eat and drink tea. The reason why he did not return to house number 30 immediately today but went to Beihou Tower was because Wei Hong had an appointment. When he arrived in front of Beihou Tower, Wei Hong stopped and squinted his eyes to look up at the tea house in front of him. Beihou Tower is 3 stories high, with blue bricks and glazed tiles, flying eaves and brackets, revealing a sense of heaviness. The signboard was hung high, and the red lantern swayed in the wind, complementing the green plants placed by the window. There were 2 servants at the door who were greeting guests enthusiastically. When they saw Wei Hong standing at the door, one of them immediately came forward. Please come in, sir. Do you have an appointment or are you alone? The young servant smiled enthusiastically and bowed slightly to ask. Wei Hong nodded slightly and said, I have made an appointment and reserved a seat, the peony room. Beihou Tower is named after the flowers, so the rooms are named after various famous flowers. So you are the distinguished guest who has reserved the peony room. Please come this way. When the young servant heard that Wei Hong had already reserved a seat, he became more enthusiastic and hurried to lead the way. Wei Hong slowly followed the young servant and soon arrived at the peony room on the 2nd floor. Please come in, I will make you tea right away. After arriving at the peony room, the young servant first greeted Wei Hong warmly and asked him to sit down. Then he quickly made him a pot of hot tea and brought him some fruits and snacks. Sir, do you want to order now or later? The young servant asked softly while pouring tea for Wei Hong. Order now, and then help me keep an eye on my guest, who is a sturdy man. When he arrives, we can serve the dishes. Wei Hong took the menu and ordered a few dishes without hesitation, and did not forget to give instructions. Don't worry, I'll be waiting at the door. I'll invite your guests as soon as they arrive. The young servant smiled and agreed, then retreated respectfully. After ordering the dishes, Wei Hong picked up a cup of tea and tasted it slowly. In less than an instant of time, there was a knock on the door outside the private room. Come in. Wei Hong put down the teacup and turned his head to look outside the door. Sir, the guest you invited has arrived. After the young servant opened the door of the private room, he first explained to Wei Hong with a smile, and then retreated to the side. Okay, you go down. Wei Hong first waved to the young servant, then bowed and smiled towards the door, saying, Senior Shen, please come in. Fellow Taoist Wei, you are too polite. If you have anything to say, just say it directly. Why come to this kind of place? A sturdy figure walked in from the door, and his voice was buzzing. Moreover, this person was 9 feet tall, with a sturdy body, a full beard and fat on his face. At first glance, he looked like an extremely fierce villain. Haha, Senior Shen, don't say that. We haven't yet started fasting, so we can't give up our appetite. Besides, today we are just having a normal meal and drinking tea. Come on, sit here. Wei Hong explained with a smile, and then sat down next to Shen Tu. This person's name is Shen Tu, and he is the guest he is hosting today. This is also the first person Wei Hong met when he first entered the Qinghai Mountain Market, the sturdy butcher who directed him to the General Affairs Hall. Every time Wei Hong bought monster meat, he went to Shen Tu's shop, and the two of them became familiar with each other. Yesterday in the talisman painting room, the last person he thought of was Shen Tu. So before leaving the market in the evening, he went to Beihou Tower to book a private room, and then went to the butcher shop to inform Shen Tu that he had something to ask him. Therefore, there was the scene in the peony private room of Beihou Tower today. Fellow Taoist Wei, don't call me senior. Let's call each other fellow Taoists. I am only 2 levels higher than you in cultivation. Shen Tu took a sip of tea and relaxed his attitude. Haha, then, Fellow Taoist Shen, let's eat and chat. Wei Hong naturally followed suit. The young servant quickly brought the dishes that Wei Hong ordered one by one. Wei Hong invited Shen Tu to pick up his chopsticks, and chatted with him from time to time. Shen Tu glanced at Wei Hong, and then ate heartily without any courtesy. He saw that Wei Hong was just asking about something and had no plans for him, so he was relieved. Wei Hong was also happy to see this. The two of them ate and chatted, and they seemed to get along very well. When they had almost finished eating, Wei Hong put down his chopsticks and looked at Shen Tu. Fellow Taoist Shen, I have something to ask you. Please help me. Oh? Fellow Taoist Wei, just tell me what you want to ask. I will tell you everything I know. Shen Tu also looked at Wei Hong, thinking that the real show was about to begin. It's like this, fellow Taoist Shen, I want to ask, are all the monster meats sold in your butcher shop slaughtered by you? Wei Hong looked at Shen Tu expectantly. Slaughtered by yourself? How is that possible? Shen Tu shook his head and explained, none of the butcher shops in our market slaughter monsters by themselves. We only purchase monster meats from various hunting teams, and then divide and sell them. Did you also buy the monster meats by yourself? Wei Hong was dumbfounded. Yet, there are basically no living monsters in the butcher shop, don't you know? Shen Tu looked at Wei Hong with a hint of confusion, frowned and said, that's a monster, not a mortal pig or sheep, we can't slaughter it. It's good enough for us to buy monster meat from the hunting team every month, and we can't even think about hunting monsters. Is that so? Wei Hong frowned, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that the way he had finally found would still not work. After all, there were no living monsters in the butcher shop, so he couldn't be a butcher to get life points, and this way was instantly blocked. Then is there a place that sells or raises whole monsters? In addition, if the hunting team wants to go out to hunt monsters, I wonder what conditions are required. After the first way was blocked, Wei Hong asked two more questions in succession without giving up. After hearing Wei Hong's question, Shen Tu immediately looked at him with a very strange look, and then asked in confusion, fellow Taoist Wei, do you want to kill a living monster? Or do you want to go out hunting? Just asking. Wei Hong smiled awkwardly, it's just that drawing talismans doesn't make much profit, so I want to find other ways. That's right. Shen Tu nodded in understanding, and then said, there are no people who sell whole living monsters, but there are people who raise monsters and birds, and they are the major immortal gates, such as here. Shen Tu pointed upwards with his hand, the meaning was self-evident, and he was referring to Kingayan Mountain. Chapter 368, Hornet, Black Jade Spider. Kingayan Sect? Wei Hong was slightly startled at first, and then fell silent. All the major sects were existences that he could not contact. Even though he knew that all the major sects raised monsters and birds, he had no chance to get close to them. Moreover, the monsters and birds raised by the major sects were not necessarily all for slaughter and eating meat. Even if he was lucky enough to enter the major sects, he would not have many opportunities to contact those monsters and birds. Therefore, another way was blocked. Shen Tu didn't know what Wei Hong was thinking. He continued slowly, except for the major immortal sects, if you want to encounter live monsters, you have to join a hunting team or go out hunting by yourself. There is no other way. But, at this point, Shen Tu looked at Wei Hong with a meaningful look, and then continued, but if you want to join the hunting team to go out hunting monsters, you need to have at least the 5th level of key training, or even higher. And the death rate of the hunting team has always been quite high. Even cultivators in the late stage of key training cannot guarantee that they will come back safely every time. Dao Wei, you'd better not force it. Wei Hong naturally understood the meaning of Shen Tu's eyes. He waved his hands and explained hurriedly, Dao Shen, don't joke. I'm only the 1st level of key training. How can I go out hunting now? I'm just asking in advance. He smiled bitterly in his heart. How could he not understand Shen Tu's hint? To put it politely, it was not to force it, but in fact it was telling him not to go out and die. With his cultivation level of only the 1st level of key training, there was basically no hope of escape if he encountered a monster. If he really wanted to go hunting, it would be considered as a bit reckless in the eyes of others. Wei Hong himself was also very clear about this, so he immediately gave up the idea. He would not do anything dangerous. His original intention was just to find a stable and safe channel that could also earn vitality points. Unfortunately, nothing works. Wei Hong sighed in his heart. He originally thought that he would gain something, but who knew that after Shen Tu's introduction, he was even more disappointed. All the channels he could think of to earn vitality points were blocked, leaving him no hope. Is it really impossible to find any channels? Is it so difficult to earn some vitality points? For a moment, Wei Hong himself seemed a little confused. But when he thought that he could not continue to develop and improve without vitality points, he couldn't help but feel a little depressed and distressed. Shen Tu on the side seemed to see that Wei Hong had other intentions, but since Wei Hong didn't say it, it was inconvenient to ask more, so he continued to eat and drink. Wei Hong fell into deep thought. Slaughtering doesn't work, hunting doesn't work, what else can we do? Is it only possible to slaughter monsters? Can other small animals work? Can snakes, insects, rats and ants work? Wait, snakes, insects, rats and ants? Blue striped fire spirit ants. At this moment, Wei Hong suddenly had a flash of inspiration in his mind, and he immediately thought of the blue striped fire spirit ants he had hunted in Shenzhen. At that time in Shenzhen, the place where the blue striped fire spirit ants were located was regarded as one of the 3 forbidden areas. But after Wei Hong accidentally broke in, he found that those blue striped fire spirit ants were rare vitality materials. Moreover, the number of blue striped fire spirit ants was large enough. At that time, Wei Hong accumulated hundreds of millions of vitality points just by brushing blue striped fire spirit ants. If he can still find monster resources similar to blue striped fire spirit ants now, isn't that the channel for brushing vitality points he wants? Yet, why didn't I think of this before? As long as we find enough snakes, insects, rats and ants, won't that be a huge amount of vitality points? You know, monsters like snakes, insects, rats and ants live in groups. As long as we can find them, we won't have to worry about vitality points in the future. Wei Hong became more and more excited as he thought about it, and felt that it was very feasible. At the same time, he also felt very annoyed. Why didn't he think of this key thing earlier? But it's not too late now, as long as we can find similar social monsters. Wei Hong now has neither the ability to hunt monsters nor jobs like butchering pigs and beheading them. But as long as he can find social monsters like the blue striped fire spirit ants, he can find a way to brush out vitality points. Even if he uses spirit stones to smash them, he will smash the vitality points. The disappointment and depression in Wei Hong's eyes were swept away. He suppressed his excitement and looked at Shen Tu calmly. Fellow Taoist Shen, do you know what kind of spiritual insects are around the market? Snakes, insects, rats, ants, spiders and other types of spiritual insects are all fine. It would be even better if there is a habitat for these spiritual insects. Huh? Where spiritual insects are found? Shen Tu didn't expect Wei Hong to suddenly turn the topic to spiritual insects. He was stunned for a while before asking, fellow Taoist Wei, why did you suddenly ask about spiritual insects? I bought a book on insect control in the treasure pavilion a few days ago. I was thinking about finding some spiritual insects to try my hand and see if I can succeed in practicing. Wei Hong found a reasonable excuse without blinking an eye. Shen Tu frowned but didn't get suspicious. Instead, he fell into deep thought. If you want to find spiritual insects, there are actually a few places near the market town. Wei Hong's eyes lit up. Oh? Which places? Fellow Taoist Shen, please give me some advice. I don't deserve your advice. Shen Tu smiled and said slowly, you can get this information by asking around. There are 3 places where spiritual insects appear. The first one is the hornet in the forest east of the market town. This hornet is a first-grade low-grade poisonous insect. It lives in the maple forest in the east forest. They are extremely fast, and their tail needles contain a strong poison. Once stung, the body will rot, and even the spiritual energy will be contaminated by the toxicity. There are at least tens of thousands of hornets in the maple forest, and it is difficult for cultivators below the foundation building stage to provoke them. The second is the green-scaled snake that lives in the Snake Valley in the south. This green-scaled snake is a first-grade medium-grade poisonous snake. It is generally between 5 and 9 feet long, with green snake scales all over its body. Its venom is so severe that even a little bit is enough to kill a cultivator. Moreover, their toxicity is not as toxic as that of green-scaled snakes. It's just that the Spider Valley is huge, with at least hundreds of thousands of black jade spiders living in it. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no one would go to the Spider Valley to provoke the black jade spiders. Shen Tu told Wei Hong in detail the 3 locations that met the requirements, as if he knew them all. Chapter 369 Spider Valley. The Hornet in Maple Forest. The Jade Snake in Snake Valley. And the Black Jade Spider in Spider Valley. Wei Hong's eyes lit up slightly. He didn't expect to actually gain something from Shen Tu. He felt that the 3 places Shen Tu mentioned seemed to be good, but he needed to think carefully about which one to choose. After Shen Tu finished speaking, he kindly advised, "Dao Wei, if you really want to practice insect control, I advise you to try some ordinary insects first, and don't rush to find spiritual insects. Whether it is a hornet or a jade snake, it is not something that ordinary people can provoke." Haha, thank you Dao Shen for your advice. Dao Shen, please rest assured that I will not joke with my life. Wei Hong naturally heard the sincerity in Shen Tu's words and immediately clasped his fists to thank him. Shen Tu nodded slightly. Some words only need to be said once, and whether they can be understood or not has nothing to do with him. The two talked again for a while, and after eating and drinking, Shen Tu said goodbye and left. Wei Hong paid the bill and returned to room 30. It cost more than 2 spirit stones to have a meal, but it's worth it. Wei Hong naturally felt a little sad when he paid the bill, but when he thought of the information he got from Shen Tu, he felt that the meal was not bad at all. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Wei Hong began to think carefully. According to Shen Tu, there are only 3 suitable places around Qingyuan Mountain Market, and the rest are either too far away or too dangerous. There must be a lot of hornets, but hornets are flying venomous bees with strong venom. I don't have any means to deal with flying venomous bees for the time being, which is a problem. The Bilan snake doesn't seem to work either. It's a first-level medium-quality venomous snake. Not only is it too venomous, but the strength of a single Bilan snake is not something I can provoke. Give up. The black jade spiders in the Spider Valley sound good. Not only are there a lot of them, but they can't fly like hornets. I just don't know what the environment in the Spider Valley is like. Wei Hong analyzed the advantages and disadvantages and strengths of the 3 venomous insects and snakes over and over again. After thinking about it, he found that the hornet and the blue-scaled snake were not easy to deal with, and they were not a channel for brushing vitality points at this stage. Therefore, in the end, only the black jade spider in the Spider Valley was left. It seems that the black jade spider is the only choice. Okay, it's it. Wei Hong didn't think about it for long, and immediately made a decision. He just learned from Shen Tu that the Spider Valley is located in the north of the market, only a few miles away from the market. Moreover, there are no monsters along the way. As long as you don't enter the Spider Valley, it is generally safe. This made Wei Hong more determined to choose the Spider Valley. If it is suitable, then the Spider Valley may be my treasure land for brushing vitality points in the future. This matter cannot be missed. With this idea, Wei Hong slowly closed his eyes and began to practice today. The next day, Wei Hong went to the talisman workshop to draw talismans as usual in the morning, but he finished work early in the afternoon. He first found an unmanned corner to change his appearance, and then left the market and headed straight for the Spider Valley in the north. In just 1 stick of incense, Wei Hong arrived in front of a huge valley. Is this the Spider Valley? What Shen Tu said is indeed true. This place is only 5 miles away from the market. There are no monsters along the way, so there is no need to worry about safety. Looking at the huge and quiet valley in front of him, Wei Hong squinted his eyes and observed carefully. This Spider Valley is not secret. It is close to the market, and it can be found as long as you want to find it. Moreover, he relied on the ghost boy to explore the way and advance. He really did not encounter any monsters and arrived at the Spider Valley safely. Looking from outside the valley, the mountains on both sides of the valley are steep and the peaks are numerous. The entrance of the valley is narrow and deep, and there are 2 huge rocks at the entrance. At this time, the sun has not yet set, and the sunlight shines through the clouds above the valley on the lush vegetation, creating a mysterious and charming atmosphere. Let's go in and take a look first. Wei Hong did not stay outside for long, but walked towards the entrance of the valley carefully. He also used the breath-retaining technique to restrain his own breath very carefully, and then walked into the valley step by step. Of course, the 9 ghost children had already explored the way in before him. Without receiving the warning from the ghost children, Wei Hong did not stop. He found that there were no black jade spiders at the entrance of the valley, nor any other animals or monsters, and it seemed extremely quiet. After entering the valley, He saw a vast expanse in front of him. It seemed to be isolated from the world, with no insects chirping or birds singing. The terrain in the middle of the valley was quite flat and the area was extremely wide. You could not see the depths of the valley at a glance. The places where the mountains on both sides of the valley connected were like two long cliffs. In addition to the steep rocks, there were only bathtub-sized holes on the cliffs. In addition, there was a stream more than 10 feet wide flowing inside the valley, and the stream water was slowly flowing from the depths of the valley to the outside of the valley. Wei Hong carefully restrained his breath, hid behind a rock, and began to observe the situation in the valley carefully with the help of the ghost children's perspective. At this time, the valley floor was covered with many black spiders as big as sea bowls. Are those black jade spiders? They are not that big. Wei Hong had a hint of curiosity on his face. Those black jade spiders had 8 long claws, and their abdomens had some colorful patterns, and they were all bulging. There were 6 dark green compound eyes, 2 large and 4 small, neatly arranged on the ferocious mouth parts, and the whole body was covered with thick black fur, which was enough to make people shudder at first glance. From the perspective of the ghost boy, Wei Hong found that there were at least tens of thousands of black jade spiders scattered on the ground. Moreover, a large number of black jade spiders kept crawling in and out of the holes on the cliffs on both sides of the valley. Obviously, the holes on the cliffs were the nests of the black jade spiders. So many? I wonder how many are in those nests. Looking at the dense holes on the cliffs on both sides, Wei Hong's eyes flashed with a strange color. In his opinion, they were all living vitality points. What he saw now was only a small area at the entrance of the valley. If he went deeper into the valley, he didn't know how many black jade spiders lived there. At least hundreds of thousands of them. These are all life points. Wei Hong didn't feel scared of the black jade spiders. Instead, he regarded them as treasures. His eyes were almost shining. Ghost children, go in and take a look at their nests. Wei Hong waved his hand and ordered the 9 ghost children to disperse and enter different cave entrances. For other cultivators, it might be impossible to find out the nest of black jade spiders, but for Wei Hong, who had ghost children, it was not a problem at all. Chapter 370 The loss outweighs the gain. Spider Valley. Hiding behind the boulder, Wei Hong kept thinking about it. I don't know if it's hard to kill. If it's just one, I should be able to handle it by myself, right? But if I only deal with one, it's useless. What I want is to swipe points on a large scale. But even if I add 9 ghost children, I can't provoke tens of thousands of black jade spiders at the same time. What should I do? Wei Hong needs to find a channel to swipe vitality points on a large scale, instead of dealing with a single spider. He was seriously considering what means to swipe vitality points on a large scale. At this time, the 9 ghost children also sent back messages. They found that the countless caves on the cliffs on both sides were actually connected. After entering the cave, after various twists and turns, all the caves will eventually converge in the center of the mountain. There is a huge karst cave, which is the nest of the black jade spider. The karst cave is not only inhabited by hundreds of thousands of black jade spiders, but also full of spider eggs, which are spread all over the ground. It is indeed the nest of the black jade spider, but it's a pity that I can't go deep into it. Wei Hong shook his head with regret. He wanted to give it a try. If he killed a large number of black jade spider eggs, he wondered if he could get vitality points. Unfortunately, his idea would definitely not be realized in a short period of time. Not to mention entering the nest, Wei Hong found that he couldn't even deal with the black jade spiders in the valley. Those black jade spiders were either playing with each other, spinning silk and weaving webs, or lazily basking in the sun. They were very close to each other, one next to the other. Once Wei Hong provoked one of them, it would definitely cause a chain reaction and attract tens of thousands of black jade spiders. At present, he only had 9 ghost children to serve as combat power, and there was no way to deal with tens of thousands of black jade spiders, even hundreds of them at the same time. In this way, Wei Hong's idea of large-scale brushing points was somewhat unsuccessful. How about using the black sword? Wei Hong thought about it and shook his head to reject it. No, even if we use the black sword, it is impossible to deal with so many black jade spiders at the same time, unless we use dozens of talismans at the same time. But I only have the water shield talisman now, which is a defensive talisman, and it won't work. If we change it to an offensive talisman, maybe there will be a chance. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the brighter his eyes became. He found that there was absolutely no problem with his thinking, so he continued to ponder. That's right, use offensive talismans, but which one should I use? Spiders are afraid of fire, so it should be okay to use talismans with fire attributes. Firebird talisman? No, the Firebird talisman is at least a first-grade top-grade talisman, and I can't afford it at all. What about the first-grade mid-grade Fireball talisman? I heard that the power of the Fireball talisman is very good. It should be useful to throw out 10 or 20 of them at the same time, right? After thinking about it, Wei Hong finally decided to use a first-grade mid-grade Fireball talisman. He had heard from LV Fang that this Fireball talisman was very powerful. When used, it could summon a fireball as big as a bathtub to hit the target. If 10 Fireball talismans were used at the same time, the combined power would be very terrifying, right? But a first-level medium-quality Fireball talisman must be sold for at least 2 spirit stones and 50 broken spirits. 10 would cost at least 25 spirit stones. Forget it. There is gain only when there is sacrifice. It is worth paying a few spirit stones for vitality points. After a simple calculation, Wei Hong felt a pain in his heart. However, in order to successfully brush the vitality points, he decided to spend the spirit stones. Let's go back first. Wei Hong waved his hand and called back all 9 ghost children. Then he carefully left the Spider Valley and returned to the Kingayan Mountain Market along the original route. After returning to the market, he changed his appearance and went to the market. Then after bargaining with one of the stall owners, he successfully won 10 first-level medium-quality Fireball talismans at the price of 24 spirit stones. After taking the Fireball talisman, Wei Hong thought about it and decided to go back to the Spider Valley again. Whether I can succeed depends on this wave. Don't waste my spiritual stones. When he thought of the price of the 10 Fireball talismans, Wei Hong couldn't help but grit his teeth. In order to be able to kill the black jade spiders on a large scale this time, he took out all his current wealth to buy the 10 Fireball talismans. If he fails this time, he will have to eat coarse food for a long time. Suppressing the thoughts in his mind, he waved his hand, and the 9 ghost children flew out again to explore the way. At this time, the sun had just set, but the tens of thousands of black jade spiders had not returned to their nests and were still staying in the valley. It's just right. Let me find a suitable place to make a move first, and then you ghost children will be responsible for attracting the black jade spiders together. Wei Hong assigned the tasks, then restrained his breath and slowly touched behind the boulder. He gently touched behind the boulder, and the whole person jumped onto the top of the boulder, and then lay on the boulder motionless. His position was just right for him to be in a high position, which would be convenient for him to use the fireball charm later. On the other side, 9 ghost children transformed directly, gathered together, and then bit a black jade spider each. Hiss! Hiss! The 9 black jade spiders instantly exploded in pain, but found that the perpetrator was actually floating in the sky. So they immediately jumped up and pounced on the 9 ghost children. At the same time, the other black jade spiders in the valley were also attracted by the movement here, and they all made various hissing sounds. The 9 ghost children lightly raised their bodies, leaving the 9 black jade spiders empty. Those black jade spiders instantly became more furious, and continued to pounce on the ghost children. The 9 ghost children also deliberately led the black jade spiders that were attracted to Wei Hong. For a moment, tens of thousands of black jade spiders in the valley all gathered towards the valley entrance, like a black tide in the night. Even Wei Hong, who was lying on the boulder, was shocked. Damn it, if we are surrounded, there will be nothing left. He did not expect that the momentum of tens of thousands of black jade spiders being attracted here would be so great. No wonder no one came to the Spider Valley to provoke these black jade spiders. Flee after one strike, never stay. Wei Hong gritted his teeth secretly. If it were not for the chance of survival, he would have escaped without even thinking about it. Here they come. Wei Hong quietly observed from the boulder and found that the black jade spiders were about to enter his attack range. He did not dare to really wait for the black jade spiders to approach, lest he be accidentally dragged into it and lose more than he gained. Go. Wei Hong directly took out 10 fireball talismans from his arms, and then urged the spiritual energy in his body, and threw them towards the black tide not far below. Chapter 371 The second level of key training. Buzz! The spiritual energy surged. 10 huge fireballs the size of wheels suddenly appeared in the valley, like 10 small suns. The dark valley was suddenly illuminated. A stream of hot energy quickly condensed above Wei Hong's head. As the spiritual energy surged and poured in, the 10 huge fireballs became even more terrifying. Hiss. This change shocked the densely packed black jade spiders that gathered around. But Wei Hong didn't give them any time to react. He pointed his hand. 10 huge fireballs immediately smashed down hard at the place where the black jade spiders were most densely packed. Whoosh! The 10 huge fireballs seemed slow but actually fast, and they fell directly into the densely packed black jade spiders with a whistle. Boom! The exploding fire attribute energy suddenly exploded, and then suddenly spread like a tide. The surging flames rose up and began to spread rapidly. Pieces of hot sparks flew out and fell on the surrounding black jade spiders. Hiss! There were waves of screams and wails. The large number of black jade spiders that were directly hit by the 10 huge fireballs turned into ashes in an instant. The black jade spiders that were stained with hot sparks also burned one by one, and then they were burned to charcoal in just a moment. Such a horrifying scene made the tens of thousands of black jade spiders that rushed over to kill them stop immediately in shock. They jumped away from the center of the explosion and also avoided the sparks that would burn them as soon as they touched them. Good. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong was overjoyed. Finally, he didn't have to worry about being surrounded by those black jade spiders in the valley. At the same time, the wonderful sound he had been waiting for a long time came again. Ling. Life points plus 2, Ling. Life points plus 3, Ling. Life points plus 2. A row of system prompts sounded one after another. Okay, we got the vitality points, Ghost Boy, let's go. Wei Hong, overjoyed, waved his hand, kicked hard on the top of the boulder, and flew out of the valley. This was the plan he had just made, one strike and one escape. No matter if there was any harvest or how much harvest, he had to escape from the Spider Valley after using the Fireball Talisman, and there must be no delay. Fortunately, all the black jade spiders were temporarily entangled by the residual power of the Fireball Talisman, allowing Wei Hong to easily get away from the Spider Valley. Haha, not bad, not bad. I finally got the vitality points. It's worth it for me to take such a huge risk and smash more than 20 spirit stones. Ha ha ha. After escaping from the Spider Valley, Wei Hong couldn't help laughing with joy, and his expression was also full of ease and confidence that was rare in the past. This wave, he harvested more than 3,000 vitality points. This also proved that the Spider Valley was the channel he had been looking for to brush vitality points. Next, as long as he copied the first operation, he could continue to obtain a lot of vitality points. It's a pity that it costs a lot of spirit stones. Each time I brush it, I need more than 20 spirit stones. It's really a bit too much. In addition to being happy, Wei Hong also felt a little emotional. However, the flaws do not outweigh the merits. The fact that he was able to successfully brush more than 3,000 vitality points is the best proof. The other small costs are completely acceptable. Let's go back to the market. Wei Hong suppressed his joy and took the Ghost Boy back to the market. Ling. First level talisman drawing technique proficiency plus 100. Congratulations on breaking through to the mastery realm. The current proficiency is 15/300. Ling. First level talisman drawing technique proficiency plus 300. Congratulations on breaking through to the minor success realm. The current proficiency is 15 out of 500. Ling. First level talisman drawing technique proficiency plus 500. Congratulations on breaking through to the great success realm. The current proficiency is 15 out of 800. Ling. Water shield talisman, proficiency plus 500. Congratulations on your breakthrough to the great accomplishment realm. Current proficiency is 33 out of 800. After having vitality points, Wei Hong no longer needs to calculate vitality points to make a living. He directly added all three talisman skills, namely, talisman drawing, wood thorn talisman and water shield talisman, to the great accomplishment realm. In this way, Wei Hong's original bottleneck of talisman drawing was immediately broken through, and his success rate of talisman drawing was also significantly improved. From the original 45% to 55%, it can even reach 60% when the state is good. After the success rate was raised, Wei Hong's daily life became more comfortable. Because the success rate is directly linked to his income, Wei Hong's monthly income has increased a lot at once, and he can easily earn more than 60 spirit stones every month. This income has long exceeded that of ordinary first-level initial talisman drawing masters. Even many old talisman drawing masters who have been immersed in this for half their lives may not be able to make this income. Although I still can't afford to buy elixirs, at least I don't have to save too much on spiritual rice and monster meat, which is a big improvement. Wei Hong smiled with a little satisfaction. This is already the 3rd month since he came back from Spider Valley. The change in his life has made him full of confidence in the future. Although he still can't afford to buy elixirs every month, and still can't use the power of elixirs to practice, but after paying rent, buying spiritual rice and monster meat and other expenses, he can save more spiritual stones. 1 caddy of spiritual rice and monster meat per day has also become 2 caddies per day, so his practice speed has increased a lot. Maybe, tonight will be the day to break through the 2nd level of key training. Wei Hong's eyes are burning, as if he has a feeling in his heart. After more than 3 months of hard practice, the spiritual energy in his body has almost doubled, and it is clear that he is on the verge of a breakthrough. For this reason, Wei Hong ate 2 more caddies of spiritual rice and monster meat at dinner, just to avoid insufficient spiritual energy, so as not to affect the breakthrough. With a strong premonition, Wei Hong slowly closed his eyes and began to run the King Muju with all his strength. The light blue spiritual energy quickly circulated in his body, refining the spiritual energy contained in the spiritual rice and monster meat while constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of the surrounding heaven and earth. 2-pronged approach, the effect is doubled. The King Muju ran faster and faster, refining more and more spiritual energy, and then the refined spiritual energy continued to merge into the light blue spiritual energy, making the light blue spiritual energy become thicker and thicker, until it became the thickness of a finger. The color also deepened a little. At this time, the spiritual energy with the thickness of a finger exuded an aura that was twice as strong as before, and the speed of operation began to slowly slow down. Key training level 2, it's done. Wei Hong's body shook slightly, and his eyes were filled with joy when he opened them. It took more than a year and experienced all kinds of difficulties, and he finally broke through to the 2nd level of key training. Finally broke through. The hardships made Wei Hong very emotional. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372 Application for Questioning. Not bad, not bad, my strength has more than doubled. Sensing the changes in the spiritual energy in his body, Wei Hong's mouth curled up quietly. At the same time, after being promoted to the 2nd level of key training, the light blue spiritual energy not only deepened a little, but Wei Hong also felt that he became closer to the flowers, plants and trees around him. It's worthy of being a top-grade yellow level practice. It's much better than the 5 elements key training technique. After experiencing the spiritual energy quality and practice speed of King Muju, Wei Hong was very glad that he changed his main practice method early. Otherwise, if he continued to practice the 5 elements key training technique, even if he took pills, he didn't know how long it would take to break through to the 2nd level of key training. Although this King Muju is not a very good practice, it is enough to make Wei Hong full of hope for the future. Next, as long as I go to brush the vitality points once in a while, I can basically meet my practice needs. Even if I can't afford pills for the time being, it won't affect my practice speed too much. Wei Hong thought carefully in his heart and had a clear plan for the future. However, when he thought about the fact that he had to spend more than 20 spirit stones every time to refresh vitality points, he felt very painful. Damn it, it costs more than 20 spirit stones to refresh once. If I refresh more times, I can afford to buy elixirs. This is too extravagant. Wei Hong's mouth twitched slightly, and he felt helpless. It is estimated that only he can do such a prodigal behavior. But for the vitality points, there is no other way. No, this is not a solution. Every time I go to refresh vitality points, I have to buy 10 first-level medium-quality fireball charms. It is not worth it at all. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more painful it felt. He couldn't help but secretly thought, buying fireball charms is not cost-effective, so can I practice fireball magic by myself? If he could find a way to replace fireball charms, then his efficiency and frequency of refreshing vitality points could be greatly improved, and the cost could be greatly reduced accordingly. Therefore, Wei Hong unconsciously thought of practicing fireball magic by himself. However, as a first-level medium-quality spell, fireball magic must be practiced at least at the 4th level of key training, Otherwise it would be empty talk. I have just broken through to the second level of key training. How easy is it to advance to the fourth level? I don't know how long it will take. The idea that had just arisen in Wei Hong's mind was instantly extinguished. There was no way. The idea of practicing the fireball technique was a little unrealistic at the moment. If he really wanted to practice it, he had to wait until he was promoted to the fourth level of key training. Before that, he didn't know how many times he had to brush the vitality points. The fireball technique cannot be practiced for the time being, so can I draw the fireball talisman myself? Wei Hong immediately changed his mind. Then the more he thought about it, the brighter his eyes became. Yes, why not learn to draw the fireball talisman myself? As long as I can successfully draw the fireball talisman, I don't need to buy it from others, and I don't need to spend 20 or 30 spirit stones every time I brush the vitality points. This way, I can save a lot of spirit stones and speed up the speed of obtaining vitality points. That's right, let's do it. I must learn the fireball talisman. Wei Hong's eyes were frighteningly bright at this time, and he had made up his mind. However, the fireball talisman is a first level, medium quality talisman. It is indeed a bit difficult for me to successfully draw it with my current second level key training level, and I don't have the fireball talisman now. Wei Hong frowned slightly, and naturally thought of this problem. It is undoubtedly very difficult to draw a fireball talisman at the second level of key training, but the talisman drawing method is not like practicing magic. As long as you understand the principle of the fireball talisman, after a lot of practice, it is still possible to draw it, but the success rate will be shockingly low. If it doesn't work, add vitality points to it and see if the success rate can be increased. Wei Hong gritted his teeth and did not give up this idea because of some difficulties. The next day, before Wei Hong went to the talisman drawing room, he went to find Manager Wang first and said straight to the point, "Manager Wang, I seem to have reached a bottleneck in drawing talismans recently, and the success rate seems to be unable to continue to improve. Therefore, I want to apply for a first level, medium quality talisman method to see if I can break through the existing bottleneck by studying a higher level of talisman methods and learning by analogy." Wei Hong clasped his fists to Manager Wang. That's right, the decision he made was to apply for the fireball talisman from the talisman workshop. Because apart from the talisman workshop, he had no chance of getting the inheritance of the fireball talisman for the time being. Of course, he had to find an excuse, and he directly said that he wanted to study the fireball talisman in order to break through the bottleneck. Manager Wang frowned immediately, and he looked at Wei Hong expressionlessly. "Wei Hong, how long have you been here, and you have reached a bottleneck in the art of drawing talismans? Even if you really have reached a bottleneck, why do you think that studying the fireball talisman can break through the bottleneck? Are you lying to me?" Manager Wang's eyes were filled with a hint of doubt and anger. However, Wei Hong bowed calmly and said, "Manager Wang, I would never dare to lie to you. My talisman drawing technique has indeed reached a bottleneck. If you don't believe me, you can test me. Studying the fireball talisman may not necessarily help me break through the bottleneck, but I must try it to know. Please agree, Manager Wang. Have you really reached a bottleneck?" Manager Wang's expression relaxed slightly, but he still asked with doubt, "Wei Hong, what talisman are you best at drawing now? What is the success rate of drawing talismans?" Manager Wang, I am best at drawing water shield talismans, and my current success rate is about 45%. Wei Hong answered honestly. Oh, 45%. Manager Wang looked at Wei Hong with a little surprise, and then persuaded him, "Not bad, you have only been here for such a short time, and it is already good to have such a success rate. Since you have encountered a bottleneck, then study it for a while, and you will naturally break through if you draw more, right? You are only at the second level of key training now, it is too early to study the fireball symbol now. Young people should not be too ambitious, you'd better settle down for a while." Although Manager Wang did not like Wei Hong's request, his attitude was still gentle. He did not refuse immediately, but advised him not to be too ambitious. Obviously, he thought Wei Hong was a little too impatient. After all, it was a little early to study the fireball symbol at the second level of key training. However, Wei Hong shook his head and said sincerely again, "Manager Wang, I am not aiming too high. I just want to use the fireball talisman to break through the bottleneck. I have no intention of drawing the fireball talisman. If it doesn't work, I will naturally find another way." Such an answer made Manager Wang hesitate. He looked at Wei Hong's sincere face and it was difficult to refuse. So he thought about it and waved his hand helplessly. Okay, I can give you the Fireball Talisman. But you must hand in an extra 100 Water Shield Talismans this month. Is that okay? Chapter 373 The pen moves like a dragon. No problem, thank you, Manager Wang. Wei Hong's face lit up, and he immediately clasped his fists to express his gratitude. Drawing an extra 100 Water Shield Talismans this month in exchange for a Fireball Talisman was certainly worth it. Moreover, the materials needed to draw the Water Shield Talisman were also provided by the Talisman Workshop, so he did not suffer any loss. You should know that a first-level intermediate talisman sold outside would cost at least dozens of spirit stones, and Manager Wang only set a small condition for him, which was considered to be taking care of himself. Okay, come and get it at noon. Manager Wang waved his hand to send him away. Okay. Wei Hong clasped his fists and bowed before turning around and leaving. Wei Hong was naturally very happy to be able to apply for the Fireball Talisman. This meant that his idea had already realized the first step, and the next step was to work hard and do his best to draw the Fireball Talisman. The talisman method is already available, but the materials needed to draw the talisman still need to be purchased by myself. The workshop does not provide first-level intermediate talisman skins, so it seems that I have to go to the market again. Wei Hong walked towards the talisman drawing room while thinking carefully in his heart. If you want to draw first-class middle-grade talisman, you must have a talisman skin of the same grade. But Wei Hong is still a first-class lower-grade talisman master. According to regulations, the Talisman Workshop only provides him with first-class lower-grade materials for drawing talismans. So if he wants to draw the Fireball Talisman, he must prepare a first-class middle-grade talisman skin by himself. After thinking about all the problems and things that need to be prepared, Wei Hong started his day's work. After lunch at noon, he went to the steward wing to get the talisman method of the Fireball Talisman. The first-class middle-grade talisman Fireball method has been successfully included, and the current proficiency is 1/100. After getting the inheritance of the Fireball Talisman method, the system immediately included it. Very good, now all we need is the talisman skin. In the evening, after leaving the workshop, Wei Hong went straight to the market. In order to be able to draw the Fireball Talisman this time, he gritted his teeth and took out 30 spirit stones and directly bought a first-class middle-grade monster skin. With my craftsmanship, this monster skin can be used to make at least 100 talisman skins, and perhaps 120 at most. The materials for practicing talisman drawing are now complete. After buying the first-grade medium-quality monster skin, Wei Hong returned to his rental house without stopping. Other materials and tools were easy to make. The talisman pen did not need to be replaced, and the spiritual ink could be provided by the Talisman Workshop. Only the talisman skin needed to be made by himself. After returning to the house, Wei Hong first cooked rice and stewed meat, and only started to prepare for leather making after eating and drinking. A first-grade medium-quality monster skin worth 30 spiritual stones, this can't be taken lightly. Wei Hong carefully handled the monster skin in front of him, which was very valuable to him. Shaving, degreasing, and exorcising evil spirits. He was still as skilled and straightforward as ever. Then came cutting, tailoring, and layering. The leather-making processes were even more skilled in Wei Hong's hands. In less than half an hour, he had already completed the leather making. Haha, there are still 120 talisman skins, and they are all first-level medium-quality talisman skins, not bad. Wei Hong picked up a talisman skin and carefully examined it for a while, and couldn't help but smile. His craftsmanship is getting better and better, even the first-level medium-quality monster skin can be perfectly processed. This is also thanks to the fact that he had previously improved the realm of the Zhengjinling Siju, otherwise the result would be hard to say. It's a pity, I don't know if these talisman skins are enough for my practice. 120 talisman skins may seem like a lot, but if Wei Hong wants to challenge himself to draw the Fireball Talisman, maybe they are not enough for him. After all, the failure rate in the early stage must be ridiculously high. Try to draw it first. Wei Hong didn't think much, and directly picked up a talisman skin and spread it on the table. Then he picked up the talisman pen and gently dipped the tip of the pen in the spiritual ink. After concentrating for a moment, Wei Hong began to write. According to the stroke direction recorded in the Fireball Talisman method, Wei Hong held the talisman pen and drew slowly, showing caution in every stroke. Compared with the fast and smooth strokes of the Water Shield Talisman, It was far from the same. Although Wei Hong drew the talisman very slowly and cautiously, he only drew 3 strokes. Puff. The first-grade medium-quality talisman skin instantly turned into ashes. I only drew 3 strokes. Wei Hong's right hand holding the pen froze slightly. Looking at the talisman skin turned into ashes, he smiled helplessly. Although he had prepared himself mentally in advance, he never thought that he would fail for the first time with only 3 strokes. It seems that this fireball talisman is really difficult to draw. Wei Hong shook his head and sighed, and quickly adjusted his mentality. At the same time, he was summarizing the reasons for his failure. The speed is not a problem, the problem should be the output of spiritual energy. The third stroke is a little heavier. Also, the consumption of spiritual energy for drawing a first-level middle-grade talisman is so great, just drawing 3 strokes has consumed nearly 20% of my spiritual energy. If I draw it completely, won't it consume most of my spiritual energy? At this time, Wei Hong realized that part of the spiritual energy in his body had been consumed. Try it again. Wei Hong gathered his mind and stopped thinking about the failure just now. Instead, he started to concentrate on drawing the talisman again based on the reasons for the failure just summarized. Just like the slow speed just now, his wrist and pen tip were extremely stable, without the slightest shaking. The spiritual energy in his body was continuously injected from the talisman pen into the rune he drew, and the consumption rate was much faster than drawing the water shield talisman. Wei Hong did not dare to be careless, and was very careful with every stroke. Even though he sensed the speed of consumption of spiritual energy in his body, he did not dare to be distracted at all. The third stroke, the fourth stroke, the fifth stroke. After summarizing the experience of failure, Wei Hong did not fail twice when drawing the third stroke. But just when he was about to finish drawing the third rune, a muffled sound sounded as before. Puff. The rune skin turned into ashes again. It still doesn't work. Wei Hong sighed softly. This time it was because he didn't understand the runes well enough, or he was not proficient. After all, he had just entered the realm of the fireball rune, and this was only his second attempt. He was not surprised by this result, but he was a little helpless. My spiritual energy has been consumed by more than half, and I have only tried twice. Doesn't that mean that if I want to draw the rune completely, I can only draw it twice at most with my cultivation? Wei Hong frowned slightly, and then he understood why Wei Hong Wang would say that he was a little too ambitious. It was mainly because his realm was not high enough, and the spiritual energy consumption was too much to bear. Generally, the spiritual energy would be consumed after only 1 or 2 drawings. In addition to the lack of understanding of runes, the failure rate of running runes in the early stage can be said to be 100%, and there is almost no chance of success. I didn't expect it to be so difficult. No wonder ordinary talisman masters are unable to draw talismans of a higher level than their own. Wei Hong smiled bitterly, but he could only accept this reality. Chapter 374 Mission accomplished. The next day last night, Wei Hong stopped drawing talismans after his spiritual energy was mostly consumed, and began to meditate and practice. Since he knew that his cultivation level was related to the success rate and frequency of drawing talismans, he would not neglect it and would continue to work hard as before. In the morning, Wei Hong went to the talisman drawing room to draw talismans as usual. After completing his daily tasks, he went straight back to the house and did not go anywhere. After dinner, he would first restore his spiritual energy to a sufficient state, and then he began to practice drawing fireball talismans. He could only draw talismans twice a night, and after 2 times, he would basically consume most of his spiritual energy and would no longer be able to draw talismans for the 3rd time. Therefore, Wei Hong's progress in drawing fireball talismans was quite slow, and he couldn't speed up even if he wanted to. It was really his cultivation level that limited his progress and frequency of drawing talismans. But Wei Hong couldn't change this for the time being. For this reason, he could only sigh helplessly, and then continue to draw talismans twice a night. Draw talismans. Draw talismans. Now Wei Hong spends every day drawing talismans crazily, drawing talismans and drawing talismans. The research on the fireball talisman was also slowly accumulating experience, but no matter how many times he drew it in the early stage, it ended in failure. Under such circumstances, Wei Hong, who had failed dozens of times, could not help but improve the fireball talisman to the realm of minor success. Ling. First level intermediate talisman fireball talisman proficiency plus 100, current proficiency mastery, 12/100, Ling. First level intermediate talisman fireball talisman proficiency plus 300, current proficiency minor success, 12/500. After upgrading the realm by 2 levels, a large amount of talisman drawing experience immediately emerged in Wei Hong's mind, and all of them were about drawing fireball talisman. Wei Hong closed his eyes and absorbed it for a long time before he absorbed all the experience that appeared out of thin air and turned it into his own experience. If you come again, I won't believe it. Wei Hong picked up the talisman pen again after dinner. This was the first fireball talisman he drew tonight, and this time his talisman technique had reached the realm of minor success. Dip the pen in ink and write a dragon. The fireball rune technique that reached a minor success stage made Wei Hong feel like he had been drawing it for years. He was very familiar with all kinds of runes and his movements were very skillful. This time, he drew the rune much faster than before, and gradually drew it with a sense of flowing water. However, Wei Hong secretly complained because the speed of his spiritual energy consumption was also slightly faster than before. However, he did not dare to be distracted. He gritted his teeth and focused on drawing the rune, allowing the spiritual energy in his body to flow and consume. Puff! Just when Wei Hong was about to finish, the rune skin turned into ashes again, just like dozens of times before. Hiss! It still doesn't work. You can't draw it successfully even after you have reached the minor success stage. And the speed of spiritual energy consumption has also increased a bit. If I hadn't persisted in practicing hard for more than a month, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to persist in drawing the rune twice a night. Seeing that he couldn't successfully draw the fireball rune even though he had reached the minor success stage, Wei Hong was immediately a little annoyed. But after a moment, he regained his calm and began to think about the reason. In the final analysis, it is because my cultivation is too low, which directly affects the success rate of the fireball talisman. Although I have enough experience, the spiritual energy in my body is not enough, which makes the output frequency of the spiritual energy not stable enough, and this is why I fail repeatedly. I still have to continue to practice hard and strive to break through to the 3rd level of key training as soon as possible. Wei Hong sighed and finally understood the real reason that limited his success in drawing the fireball talisman. After repeated experiments and summaries, he basically avoided all the mistakes that could be avoided. However, the problem of insufficient cultivation is a hard flaw, and it is also something he cannot change for the time being. Forget it, just draw slowly, and you will succeed. With this mentality, Wei Hong started to draw the fireball talisman again. Fail again and again. Summarize again and again. Draw the talisman again and again. After calming down, Wei Hong is getting closer and closer to success. Another month later. Buzz! The spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to surge. Huh? What is this? Wei Hong was surprised and even forgot to put down the talisman pen. The talisman in front of him was blooming with a faint red light, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was constantly infusing it. After 3 breaths, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth returned to calm. The talisman in front of Wei Hong retracted its light, as if it had hidden all its inspiration. But upon closer inspection, it seemed as if a faint red light was flowing and disappearing in it, and the surface of the talisman was full of complicated runes, which looked somewhat extraordinary at first glance. It's done, it's finally done, ha ha ha. Wei Hong couldn't help laughing until he saw the fireball talisman on the table was completely formed. It's not easy, it's really not easy. He failed dozens of times, and most of the 120 talisman skins have been consumed. Now he finally succeeded once, how could he not be overjoyed? Good, finally succeeded once. Wei Hong picked up the fireball talisman with great relief and began to look at it carefully. The whole fireball talisman seemed more concise than the blank talisman skin, but the runes engraved on its surface seemed complicated, and at first glance it looked like a ghost painting. Each stroke showed his proficiency, which was pleasing to the eye even to those who didn't know much about it. At the same time, the whole talisman also released a faint hot breath, which made people know at a glance that it was a fire attribute talisman. Not bad, it's exactly the same as the fireball talisman I bought before, and it's worth my hard work to draw the talisman. Wei Hong enjoyed the satisfaction and joy of getting the reward after working hard for a long time. This also proved that his efforts and dedication were worth it. With a cultivation level of the 2nd level of key training, he could draw a 1st level middle grade fireball talisman. This achievement is probably very rare in the entire Qinghai mountain market. Even though Wei Hong's success rate is still very low, he can draw and no one can deny this. Try again, and see if I can draw another one tonight. Wei Hong restrained his joy and began to concentrate on drawing the talisman again. Unfortunately, the second time failed again like before. Wei Hong did not get discouraged and continued to draw the talisman twice a night. Over and over again. Night after night. After almost a month of experiments and summarization, Wei Hong finally determined that his success rate in drawing the fireball talisman was only a pitiful 10%. It seems that my cultivation really limits me. The current success rate has little to do with the realm of the fireball talisman. Alice, 10% is 10%. Wei Hong sighed softly and could only face the reality. He found that even if the realm of the fireball talisman was improved, he still couldn't effectively improve the success rate of drawing the talisman. Obviously, the only thing that really limited him was his cultivation. In this way, Wei Hong no longer wasted his vitality on the fireball talisman. Instead, he maintained a 10% success rate and insisted on drawing the talisman, and began to slowly accumulate fireball talismans. Chapter 375 Divert the Trouble Away. 3 months later. During this period of time, Wei Hong's life has been extremely regular. There is no change every day, except drawing talismans. Since he was able to draw the fireball talisman, he has not stopped for a day. Even if he can only draw the talisman twice a night, he still insists on it every day. Although his cultivation level is not enough, his success rate of drawing the fireball talisman is barely 10%, but it does not hinder Wei Hong's enthusiasm for drawing talismans. Because the appearance of each fireball talisman represents dozens or hundreds of vitality points. The number of vitality points directly determines Wei Hong's development speed, so Wei Hong did not give up because of the low success rate, but kept drawing. In this way, he can save 6 or 7 fireball talismans every month. After more than 3 months, he has saved up exactly 20. It's time to go to Spider Valley again. Looking at the 20 fireball talismans in his hand, Wei Hong's mind became active. He waited for so long just to accumulate enough fireball talismans and then harvest a wave of vitality points. Now the time has come. How can he wait any longer? If you want to do it, do it. Wei Hong disguised himself and left the market in the afternoon. This time, the ghost boy was still the one to explore the way, and Wei Hong followed quietly. Along the way, Wei Hong did not encounter any monsters, and he arrived at the Spider Valley smoothly. Next, according to the method of the last time, the ghost boy was responsible for attracting the black jade spiders, and then Wei Hong would choose the opportunity to use the fireball talisman. However, this time Wei Hong wanted to make a big wave. He first chose a position on the right cliff that was not too high or too low but suitable for casting talismans. This would also facilitate a subsequent escape, so that he would not be surrounded by black jade spiders in the valley. After choosing a position and hiding well, the 9 ghost boys began to appear to attract the black jade spiders. Sure enough, those black jade spiders seemed to have forgotten what happened last time, and were easily attracted by the 9 ghost boys. And the density was far better than the previous time, which made Wei Hong secretly praise the ghost boy for being really useful. After the ghost boy attracted all the black jade spiders, he activated all 20 fireball charms at the right time, and then smashed them down towards the most densely populated area of the black jade spiders. One strike and escape is Wei Hong's code of conduct. He didn't even look at the black jade spiders that were burned to ashes. After activating the fireball charm, he immediately rushed out of the valley, not giving the black jade spiders any chance. Ling. Life points +2, Ling. Life points +3, Ling. Life points +2. Before Wei Hong rushed out of the valley, the system's prompts rang out. Haha, good, it's worth my hard work for several months. The continuous reminders made Wei Hong smile slightly, feeling that his hard work over the past few months had turned into harvest, which made him feel that it was worth it. After he was far away from the Spider Valley, he looked at the system panel and found that he had directly harvested tens of thousands of life points in this wave, which was simply a blood profit. Not bad, not bad. We'll come back in a few months. Haha, let's go. Wei Hong, feeling very happy, chuckled twice, and then went straight back to the market. But he didn't know that 6 monks appeared outside the Spider Valley not long after he left. These 6 monks seemed to have returned from outside, and they looked exhausted. Each of them had a vigilant look in their eyes, looking around from time to time, as if they were on guard against something. However, as they got closer and closer to the market, their expressions began to relax slowly. If Wei Hong saw these people, he should be able to guess that they were one of the hunting teams mentioned by Shen Tu. A team of 6 people, a very standard number of people. The leader was a middle-aged man, wearing a black robe and holding a silver flying sword. It seemed that he should be the captain of this hunting team. Just when they passed by the Spider Valley, the changes in the valley instantly aroused the vigilance of several people. Huh? What's going on? Why is there a fire in the Spider Valley? The hunting team leader Jin Fipeng immediately raised his right hand and stopped, and his expression became vigilant. At this time, they were less than a mile away from the entrance of the Spider Valley. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a special situation? Captain Jin, what's going on? A young man behind him looked around and immediately asked. They were all used to cooperating. As soon as Jin Fipeng raised his right hand, they all stopped. Then they were on guard, and the spiritual energy in their bodies was raised, ready to deal with any possible accidents at any time. At this time, they had seen the flames in the Spider Valley soaring into the sky, as if someone had provoked the black jade spiders in the valley. Captain Jin Fipeng looked for a while and frowned and said, "It's not clear yet. Someone may have entered the Spider Valley. We'd better leave here quickly." Yes, let's go back to the market first." "That's right, don't stay here, it's better to leave first. It's not coming for us, but we really can't stay here." The other 5 monks also spoke one after another, obviously agreeing with Jin Fipeng's decision. They could hear all kinds of hissing and wailing coming from the Spider Valley clearly. Obviously, someone had provoked the group of black jade spiders. For cultivators like them who make a living by hunting monsters, the most fearful thing is to encounter unknown situations. Since it is not coming for them, they will naturally not meddle in other people's business, and some even try to avoid it. Therefore, Jin Fipeng waved his hand without thinking, ready to quickly move away from the entrance of Spider Valley. Who knew that before they could move, a group of densely packed black jade spiders rushed out of the entrance of Spider Valley. Hiss. Gee. The hundreds of black jade spiders in front seemed to have a slight smell of coke, and even green smoke floated from time to time. Countless black jade spiders followed behind, and all kinds of angry hisses resounded through the valley, which seemed to be very violent. Damn it, did someone really provoke that group of black jade spiders? Hurry up, it will be too late if you don't leave now. Jin Fipeng was so scared that he took a breath of cold air when he saw the violent appearance of the group of black jade spiders, and then he immediately roared to warn, and fled quickly without looking back. Who the hell is so wicked? You lunatic, why are you provoking that group of black jade spiders? Provoke them if you want, why let us meet them, run away. The other 5 monks were also shocked and angry after seeing this scene, because the group of black jade spiders that came out of the valley immediately targeted them. It was obvious that they were angered by the black jade spiders. Countless black jade spiders were rushing towards them like a black tide, and Jin Fipeng and the other 6 were so scared that they immediately fled for their lives. It was not until an instant later that the group of black jade spiders slowly withdrew to the Spider Valley. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.